Holy shit, I thought that music would go good with my whiskey.
I was gonna say, sounded like a little bit like elevator music. I was almost
A
falling asleep there,
little
man. Come on, you
sleepy
gotta
for
get it saved
jazz.
up.
Yeah, yeah. A little sleepy for jazz, but good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for coming. I know we've hyped the shit out of this one. I think we couldn't make another post without people canceling uh, their reminders. So I think we did a good job. We got over 210 people set the reminders for this one. So biggest one ever. Certainly appreciate everybody's commitment to coming to these, and even throughout the bear market, we've been doing these for months and months and months. But this one's actually got some excitement to it. You know, we always try to keep them lighthearted and fun, and we're going to do the same here. Andrew, long time no talk. It's like we haven't talked in forever.
Feel like we're like study buddies over the last like couple of weeks with everything going on.
That's
Yeah,
that's for sure.
whether it's through Twitter, X, or Telegram or texts. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, we've been in touch
yeah,
for the last little
that's
bit.
right. Yeah, Telcoin has given us a big homework task to try to digest, and not just us. I mean, I know the entire community has really went to task and bit off chunks of this and tried to understand the complexities, which is highly complex, right? To what this release is, and so the way I kind of want to break this one down, guys, is we got a lot of community notes to make. I mean, we it's been, I don't know, about 6 weeks since the last time we did this. Did a space. So, there's some things that's happened in the community we want to make sure we keep up to. And then obviously the elephant in the room is the Telcoin organization and the entire platform restructuring. So we can jump into that as well. So Andrew, first thoughts on what you've seen so far?
Well, I don't know if you've noticed, I was a little bit quiet today. Wasn't really doing any deep dives or anything, but yeah, no, I'm definitely excited. Just reading through everything, like you talked about at the top. Um, this is probably one of the hardest exams I've ever had to prepare for.
Yeah.
With the documentation and everything going on. Like, don't get me wrong, like everything is very very well thought out, put together, organized, and everything, right? So, like now we can understand and see, why they were so quiet for so
Yeah.
long. Um, I know it's frustrating at times, and you know what? I don't mind sharing. I had some frustrations as well, but the wait was definitely worth it with everything that I'm seeing. Like again, like even in I would say like the last week of like diving in, and I know I'm a procrastinator at heart, and I wanted to wait before really getting into the weeds of the docs. Um, but like even over the last 4 or 5 days of like diving in like 2 3 4 hours a day, I still didn't even really get a chance to go through everything, right?
Yeah.
So we still have time down the road to really digest. And you know what, like for someone to go through everything that they did over a span of 3 years in a week, like you're not going to understand it, right? Like, so
Right.
I would say we're doing our best to try to, understand as much as we can. But, like you said too at the onset, is, it's an announcement that was meant to decentralize, the network. And so we should decentralize, the information. We can have people that are a little bit more experts on one aspect, some on another, and try to hone in on that. But I'm rambling on already, and we're 3 minutes in.
Yeah.
So I'll wrap up the question that you basically asked, which was, am I excited? Short answer to the answer is
Yep.
yes.
So two things, Mr. Quigley and Mr. Worley. We see in the house if there's anything you want to step up and speak to. whether that's in a corrective manner or just to speak in general. We will clear the air and get you up here. Just raise your hand. So um, at any point, we'll shut everybody else up. So, uh, but, and now back to Andrew's point.
You talking about me,
Yeah, I'm
Steve?
talking about specifically you, but yeah, everybody else too. Yeah. So, but no. But to recap what you just said, it is a lot. And you and I have been working, outside of our 9 to 5s and our lives and our wives and kids and everything else, been trying to digest this, getting prepared for this space. We knew it was going to be a big one. Everybody wants to hear what we found and express what they found. But going into this, I know you and I have talked quite a bit about, at what level do we dive into each one of these segments of the organizational data that they've released, and right now, I think the best path forward, and Andrew, I think you would agree, is we're going to go through it at a fairly high level, with some detail, but and if we want to continue on and hopefully, now that this is released, we can get some of the staff, maybe on our podcast channel and talk through, some subsections of this entire ecosystem that they've released, right? And I will also want to say that I put a post out on Twitter, just I think less maybe a week ago, less than, but this is the decentralization and the structure of the application network, the network itself, Telex, and how it all works together. And so, what is still being worked on, I'm assuming, because we've all kind of talked about it over the last few months, is the banking side too. So, now if that, and in my post, I suggested that if that is as detailed and mapped out as this side is, man, it's just going to be a juggernaut and unstoppable. I fully believe that.
Totally
Yeah,
agree. Totally agree. And yeah, let's figure out how we want to dive in, and kind of like how we talked about today. Like it's not like you can go like through a path of like, okay, let's talk about this that
yeah,
leads into that that leads into that. Like every component of this was, again, like so structured. It's a network of everything kind of working together. So I feel like we're going to start talking about something, then we're going to bounce to something else. We'll bounce to something else, and then we'll kind of just keep going pinballing back and
yeah,
forth as we kind of dissect and discuss the whole Telcoin Association, and the updated platform that now includes the test net of the Telcoin official
yeah.
network, right? The formerly known as Rivendell.
That's right. And again, this this release of software or organizational data or structure that we see now, I mean, this is an entire paradigm shift, right? So, from speaking with the community and just listening to frustrations through these spaces and whatnot, and understanding that, like, what's going on? Why aren't they talking? Then you can see uh, just the structure and the thought that has gone behind this. So I mean, in my eyes, this is a monumental release, for Telcoin. It's setting the stage for basically community-led governance, and then alongside the Telcoin network, right? And then the brand new site of Telcoin.org, which explains everything. So, I mean, it's a monstrosity, and I know we keep saying that. We've spent a lot of time diving into it. However, I it's just I'm thoroughly impressed and I'm glad, I and the rest of the community that has stuck around, because I think from this point on, I mean, it's just going to continue to get better and better. I mean, we're seeing the efforts of these guys, for years worth of efforts, come into fruition. So, um,
Yeah, definitely the biggest announcement they've had so
yeah.
far, in my opinion, with that being
Yep,
launched.
that's right. So, and again, I just want to kind of run through some community stuff. First and foremost, I want to uh, just reach out to the entire community, the listeners, and you guys have been a buzz lately over the last 7 to 10 days. I mean, I know we always kind of uh, frown on power holders group on Telegram because it gets pretty dark in there, in some of the dark days. But everybody's jiving. I mean, it's great to see. I mean, it's really good to see. So, uh, uh, high five to the entire community for getting this momentum and feeling good about what's happened and we're all in this together and if we hold strong, man, everything's going to work out. So I want to say specifically to you, Andrew, you have your telex community website back up, right?
Yeah, we're back. I'm gonna try to do my best to stay up to date with everything on the daily
Yeah,
updates to give everybody an idea of what's going on with returns and everything from that perspective. But yeah, I've got some ideas and plans on the future of either that site and how we can kind of get some more analytics on there
right.
and kind of go from there. But yeah, I wanted to revamp, relaunch, and kind of get that information back out there. As I know, I was getting some DMs from people too about when it was coming back, and I think even adjusting to kind of a weekly basis after I took I don't know, maybe like a month off or so. It wasn't enough. Information, enough data for everybody. So
Yeah.
yeah, so we'll get that. The account is back up and running. We'll start getting the daily updates pushed out on a more frequent and regular basis, and continue from
Yeah,
there.
and if you're a degenerate like a lot of us and you're liquidity providers and you haven't seen Andrew's work and his spreadsheets, with returns and a bunch of analysis and information, make sure you follow his now newly launched again Twitter handle. He'll be posting links there as well as his website. It's telexcommunity
Dot live.
dot live. That's right. So. And speaking about the buzz, man, we have DB, man. You've been doing the God's work out there, man. Just hammering, big influencer accounts and getting follows. And I think you posted a picture in one of our chats where you're hitting over 1 million impressions, and most of that's related to, or if not all of it's related to Telcoin and DFX. So I mean, and kudos and a big love for you, man. He's out there hammering it. So, and in turn, he's caught the attention of some big accounts. 50,000 plus followers, right? We have the Ncash official who's been putting Telcoin videos out on YouTube. So if you haven't seen those, I encourage you guys to go out there and see those. I want Coin News. He's given us a follow and been posting some charts and following along too. So big props to DB, man. Your memes, what is that? I think it's Pinata Farms. Yeah, it's amazing. Keep at it, man. Um, one thing I want to mention is the Thunes partnership was I want to say confirmed, but I say that softly. We saw somebody was tracking Rajesh's LinkedIn likes and comments, and he made a post saying that yes, there was a partnership with Telcoin and Thune. So we wanted to throw that out there. If you didn't see that news, we haven't confirmed anything. It was just a LinkedIn post, but we'll take what we can get at this point. So, uh, uh, what else? Liberty, you got your Telcoin shop. Where you? Yeah, you got speakership here. If you got your Telcoin shop up and running yet?
I think he said that he was still having some issues with the server or
Oh,
whatnot,
that's right.
but
Okay,
hopefully within the next week we should see something. But he's also generously offered a giveaway
that's right.
of a sweater, so we can raffle that off
Yeah,
towards middle end
middle. Okay.
whenever. I guess really up to Liberty to decide. And then just while we're talking about giveaways too, I know John's mentioned tell me something great. I think he just updated his handle. That we'll have
Shot glasses,
some
right?
Telcoin, some shot glasses.
That's right.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you for both of you guys doing that. That's awesome. Now they're probably going to put the stipulation on it where you got to stick around till close to the end. that might be midnight. Who knows the
Oh,
way Andrew rambles? But we'll go from we'll see where we end up. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. So, uh, but so what else we got? I just want to throw out there that our fantasy football season is going really well. The Telcoin community.
you didn't
No,
waste you didn't waste any
I,
time to bring it up.
I threw this one out to Andrew and I told him I was going to do this because I dominated DB last week, so I had to make sure I mentioned it. So
You also said you didn't know if you want to bring it up, and it took you 15 minutes to
well,
bring it
yeah,
up.
well, whatever. So I
Love it. You got to keep it light,
tied.
right? You got to keep it
I am
light.
I am tied for first place, so I will throw that out there too. Just you plebs, you try to keep up.
Yeah.
So
Very, very
yeah,
humble brag there,
thank
Steve.
you,
Very humble.
thank you. I did my best. So yeah, I mean that's basically the community updates that we've seen. If there's anything else right now that we want to talk about, we can certainly do that. Cody, I see you in here. I know we had some discussions about what's going on over at DFX. If you want to hop up early on here and talk a little bit, and I know you've been even following some of this Tollcoin stuff and doing some diving yourself.
Yo, what's going on, everyone?
Yeah, what's up?
Nothing much, man. Trying to get I guess, acclimated to this weather up in North Carolina, man. It's been freezing.
Oh
Um,
yeah, yeah,
Today
yeah. How
was
you
one of
like
those
that?
days. I mean, honestly,
Try Canada.
oh no, trust me, I know. Russia's been telling me all about it, to be honest. Um, but yeah, man, things have been going good. I've been after I, seen some of the digging you guys did. I've been spending way too much time in politics, and I need to get my ass out of it, and I need to get back to digging in the shit that matters, to be honest with
Yeah,
you.
yeah.
But yeah, man.
There's room in the trenches for you, Cody. Don't worry.
Yeah, well, no, honestly, man, I see the work that you guys are putting out there, and I appreciate it because, I know there's a lot of people that follow me that kind of, expect some Telcoin stuff, and I need to be on my game, right? And I appreciate that you guys are out there doing it. Honestly, you're in there, so shout out to you guys. And yeah, the whole DFX stuff, we'll get into it as we see fit. I know V3 will be, launching within the next week, so I'm pretty excited about
Ooh,
that.
there's some
Um,
alpha,
Little alpha
alpha.
yeah, there might be a little bit of alpha. I told Kevin I'd try to keep it, quiet a little bit, but we'll get some pools out there. We'll get a lot of things flowing, but I'm handing it over to you guys. Let's hear what we got going on.
Right on. Yeah, no, I appreciate that. Um, yeah, so Andrew, as the host, all I do is queue up questions and you have to answer everything. So I didn't know if you knew
I'm
that.
the color
Yeah, I
guy.
didn't know if you knew that coming into this, but
How many of these have we done?
yeah. No, I'm kidding. I think we spent enough time talking about most of what we wanted to at least cover. It's more the structure on how to cover it, right? So um,
Yeah, well, like I said too, like I think we can get started on speaking in generalities, like you said, top level, and then hopefully in the not too distant future, maybe we do specific spaces, relating to different aspects of either the association, the platform, talking about minors, or even going into the governance side of things. So we could probably do another 4 or 5 of these, to really dive into it, and get full into the
mhm.
details and into the weeds. But yeah, I think today enough is to go through just kind of high level, and just understand the maybe like the concepts of what it is, how it works, all that kind of stuff.
So yeah, you want to start
Um,
on the association side? Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So again, from my perspective, the association is essentially just like the legal kind
Hmm.
of side of it, right? So you've got the nonprofit organization, which again, the mission is to represent the interests of the GSMA mobile networks and other stakeholders in maintaining and developing the Telcoin platform, right?
Hmm.
So the way that they've set it up, and I don't know if I'm going to say this word right. I know, Steve, we both said it differently today, but the Swiss Verein, or
Variant.
Verein, whatever it is.
Yeah.
So domiciled in the canton of Ticino in the city of Lugano, Switzerland. So again, I know we've kind of gone back and forth about, what is a Varane or whatever,
Hmm.
and we all had to kind of like Google, what it was before, because yeah, none of
Yeah,
us knew what that
and I
was.
think I
But
found a snippet, right, and I think it made a lot of sense. And what this says is the Vereen or Varane or however you want to say it is an association of persons and or entities coming together to facilitate a business or activity. It has minimal requirements as to formality, which allows for flexibility as the community evolves, but also provides necessary formality and legal status so that other persons will be able to interact with it and its limited liability structure enforced. So it's basically a legal precedent, right, to allow community governance and business transactions to happen, is what I'm understanding.
yeah, and I think the beauty of it too is like you can have all of these different businesses working together on, the Telcoin Association, but also having the ability to do their own thing as their own business or own group. Whether it's the minor side of things or it's the MNOs, the GSMA members that are developing, different apps, to associate to the Telcoin network and stuff like that. So, to your point, like it's all, we're probably going to use this word like network a million times tonight, but it's essentially having all of these, global companies, groups working together in a distributed network, and aligning towards, a common goal,
Yep.
which again, to me, like I had never really understood that before. And again, kudos to the Telcoin team for doing, their proper research on, understanding what was needed to be done, not only from the decentralization standpoint of it, but also, getting that like legal
Yeah.
framework, right?
Yeah.
And all of that tied into it as well. So like anything that is worked on within this, and I'm not a lawyer, so don't take this as, advice or, for what it is. I might be wrong, but essentially like they've got a legal framework where you can work on it, but you're not necessarily going to be, come after for any of that legal side of things.
We should have
You know what I mean?
started the spaces with this is not financial advice, this is not legal advice. And so and it's all speculative, right? So all of this is
I'm just a
yeah.
guy drinking whiskey in his basement, trying to help people out.
This is
So
all public information. We have no secretive sites that we got this off of. You're all more than you can all go on the same websites that we did to try to break this stuff down. It's a lot. We're doing our best, but yeah, this is all our interpretation of what we see on telcoin.org's public website. So, and to that point, even going further, you're right. I mean, it offers these are the bullet points that they spell out. It's legal recognition, legal person status, tax clarity, legal protections, information sharing mechanisms, and down to ratification, right? To ratify the Constitution that they actually wrote, which we haven't mentioned, but we'll get to. So,
yeah,
uh,
no, there's a lot we haven't touched on yet.
yeah, so I mean, I guess the juicy bit of that is just what they've done with the association is set, this legal framework, plus protections. They've also written mission, vision, and values. They've written a constitution, as I mentioned. They've written the rationale behind the association, and then they've also written about the TAO structure, duties, and member information, right? So the I teased Andrew multiple times over the last couple of weeks about just imagining the fucking whiteboard in the conference room trying to map all this out in the spaghetti mess that it would look like until it all kind of sorted itself out. I can't imagine. We in my line of work we kind of do the same thing when we're brainstorming engineering ideas going into automation, right? Like just different colors and boxes and arrows and this, that, and the other. But this is a whole nother level, man. This is I couldn't imagine seeing what that looked like. So, um, but anyway,
It's definitely a lot, like you said. Um, but like you said, like again, if everybody takes the time, to go through the docs again, I know it's a lot of information to take in, but There is a search function. It is all broken out into the association, the participation side, the platform, the miners, the governance. Like everything is there. Just take some time, do some due diligence, and focus on maybe more the areas that you're a little bit more concerned with. Um, like we talked about today too, Steve. Like for our audience here, which is probably 90% or 95% on the retail side, right? It's more for us on kind of like the staking and liquidity mining side of things, as opposed to more of the validation and the development side.
Yeah.
But everybody's going to have a difference of opinion on what is more important to them. So I would encourage everybody to try and do as much due diligence as they can. And I would say, based on my experience, the more you read through it, the more excited you get. But
Yeah, and I can't say 100%, but I don't think we're gonna have any GSMA members in the house on our spaces here. Now, I like I said,
not,
yeah, exactly. So if you are a liquidity provider or you are a referral staker on the on app, I mean, there are some very good uh, explanations on how that all works within the entire ecosystem. So, highly encourage you to go out there and grab these bits that's actually going to pertain to you. So.
for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah. We had someone request to come up, D40.
D40, I know D40.
Hey guys, how you doing?
Good, man. How you doing?
Good.
I'm doing pretty good. Yeah, not financial advice, but you know, I've been eyeing slash holding Telcoin for a really long time, and I've never been more bullish. I did actually sell my stack a while ago, but I've just been following on, and this whole like actual um, deliverable on the mobile network operator like node running, and that screenshot of showing them burning Telcoin, and it's
Hmm.
just it's too bullish to ignore. So like,
Yeah.
not financial advice, but I mean, if you're not holding a couple milli, like you're gonna hate yourself. Not financial advice.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, Cody and I have known D40 for quite a few years. We talked to him on quite a few projects. So you still bullish on the Algorand side of business, aren't you?
Yeah, so I'm the community manager for Rand Gallery. So we are the most popular NFT marketplace on Algorand.
Oh,
We
right on.
we actually just launched our NFT marketplace on Ripple XRP Ledger. So that's just getting started. That's called RandX. So yeah, we're still bullish on Algo for sure. We're very bullish on Ripple for NFT minting. They're real
Got
cheap
it.
and they're fast.
Hmm.
So no barriers to entry. That's important for artists. But yeah, so I'm still with Algo. I'll be honest with you, I don't hold much Algo.
Hmm.
I'm like Bitcoin, a little bit of Rollbit for the lulls.
How dare you? No, I'm kidding.
No, but I'm big on Bitcoin. Obviously, that I
Yeah.
think that should be the backbone of anyone in this space. Also, not financial advice, but Telcoin, man, like I could not be more freaking bullish on
Yeah.
Telcoin at this point. Anyone that even's heard of it is lucky. You know, all time high was 7 cents. I think that's child's play for where this is headed. Not financial advice.
So let me ask you, did you sell out of just market conditions, or did you get a little frustrated with the
Frustration, 100%.
yeah, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
the thing, like the whole idea, like Paul Nooner being on there, that's awesome. He's a pro. He knows what he's doing, and that creates frustration because he knows he's not supposed to chill and
Right.
talk shit and like just blow smoke. So that is frustrating, especially in a bear where everything's nuking. Like it almost just made sense to sell everything except Bitcoin. Um, but yeah, that's why. But
Okay.
when you see this insane amount of info come out, that's super transparent, and all the things that like someone like Cody would have been breadcrumbing us with for like the last 2 years.
Hmm.
Um, I mean, I wasn't able not to buy a bag. Like it was actually kind of a pain in the ass to buy a bag, to be honest. which sucks. It was like 3 or 4 steps,
Mhm.
but was certainly worth it.
Yeah,
I will add to that real quick. I think that the one thing that sucked majorly, especially stateside, was that KuCoin started to crack down on their KYC, and I know that for myself, I had done KYC in like the end of 2017, and that's how I first got introed with it. And like now, I had thought that I got past like the initial stages of their KYC stuff. To where they started eliminating like people from the United States, being on the platform, and I looked the other day and I got like knocked down to their level 1 and I'm like, "What?" I was like, "Wait a minute,
yeah.
dude. Like, so where am I going to get it?" So, I think that this is like a great time for people to, obviously United States isn't the only country that exists, but I think that a lot of crypto holders do come from the United States. But I think where they're targeting is going to be mobile money, obviously. But I think people need to familiarize themselves with, DeFi opposed to anything else. So I think that it's a good learning lesson.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to kind of add to that with, I haven't been using centralized exchange in quite some time. I've seen the writing on the wall in my own mind, right? So just the collapse of the ones that we've seen collapse, some of them running into financial issues, even though we thought they were on the up and up. So I've been trying to keep on the DeFi side as much as possible. Now, do I go on Coinbase every now and then buy because it's super easy? Sure. And it's cheap, so I buy on the Telcoin app too. But it's a little more expensive. So, if I want to support the app, I'll buy there. Sometimes if I want to buy ETH, I'll go on Coinbase and do what I need to do with that. So, but that's about it now, right? So I always hear people reiterating the importance of exchanges and the KuCoin usage. But there are alternatives, right? And all you have to do is ask some of these degenerate community members like myself and Cody and Andrew and some of the others that have been using DeFi for quite some time. Cody obviously works for one of the DeFi companies, so there are ways that it can happen, and I hope as time goes on that becomes much easier. I know Andrew, in your case, like even if you wanted to buy on the Telcoin app, being in Canada, you couldn't, right? So I know there's still limitations, but for the folks that are in the U.S. and are so used to using KuCoin, there are alternatives. So I just reach out anytime. My DMs are always open.
Yeah, based just to cover how I did it. So I went Coinbase to Matic, and then Matic to MetaMask. I went to Balancer and swapped on Balancer my Matic to Tel, and then I sent the Tel to an Exodus wallet. So
Oh, okay.
those are my steps. I mean, it wasn't terrible,
Oh,
and Matic's efficient and cheap.
so you're not using a Telcoin wallet? Okay.
No, I mean the wallet's
Hmm.
bullish, but I would not personally use it at this point. Um, the whole like assisted self custody is a great
Yeah.
option, and I think is 100% the future. But like the on ramp on the Tel app is, it's been degraded because of partners and all that,
Hmm.
and there's no real way to off ramp it. So like yeah, tells going upwards, tells great. Always take profits, right? That way we don't have people dumping 100 million of these things, and destroying any
Yeah.
momentum. But if you get it on the Tel app, you may not be able to offload it or move it to cash very easily.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying don't use it, but I
That's a
don't
good
think the
honest
Tel app
take.
is I don't think the Tel app is really for like early degenerates. It's for like normies who are being introduced.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's probably
Um,
more for smaller amounts, but keep in mind too, like the liquidity in like Telex, which is like their own DEX, right, is going to grow as well with the token
Yeah.
appreciation, right? Like you probably have on average probably 65% of the entire TVL of Telex is literally in the Tel token. So as the price of Tel appreciates, the liquidity value increases with it, right? Obviously not at the same rate because it's not 1-to-1, but making those larger swaps, now versus when Tel's at all-time highs, is a big difference, right? Like slippage is going to be a lot different and all that kind of stuff, right? So keep that in mind too. A lot of the time when you're swapping in app, it's routing through Telex or some of the other partner protocols, and a lot of it is going to be related to kind of the TVL that is associated to it at that
Yeah,
time,
I felt
right?
that
So
pain today, Andrew. Actually, I know I made a post on Twitter about swapping some Matic over to Tel, and I did it at a pretty good time, right? It was right before we started running up pretty healthily, or pretty healthy.
front runner, right? Look at
Yeah,
you.
well, right, and it's just whatever dumb luck, and it's not like I was reading charts or anything. I just did it, right? um, but
Tell us more about your
yeah,
strategy.
hey, listen, it worked out, pal. I mean, that's all you got to know. I only do winners. But no, see, I was in that same post, me saying I took Matic and went to Tell with it, and then I did that on app. I was thinking about doing the other part or some of my other Matic to DFX, and the liquidity wasn't there. It was going to be painful if I tried to do it on app, so I
Yeah.
felt that,
So
yeah. So you find other alternatives. Don't get me wrong, but in-app liquidity sometimes is a little dry.
yeah.
Yeah,
So it's that
Oh,
flywheel
just wait till
aspect
that
that
V3.
yeah. I'm
It
listen.
may dry it may dry up a little bit more. That's all I gotta
Yeah,
say.
Cody, just drop some alpha already. It's a lot easier to ask for forgiveness than it is for
yeah,
permission. Don't worry about what Kevin has
yeah.
to say.
That's right.
No, I do think, again, not to like really hype it up too much. And again, like I said, I told Kevin I can't say too much. But I think there's going to be a very significant, demand, right? And this goes price aside. It doesn't have anything to do with that. It has to do with, people being able to create their own LPs, and I got a couple in mind that I'm going to put towards the gauge once we get going, and hopefully I can get some community support on that. But I think that there's going to be a lot of usage. I think from the Telcoin side, and then what I really wanted to add really quickly was, going back to the whole, community owned governance and what I see, Telcoin doing. Andrew, shout out to you for kind of pointing that in my direction, because I was a little busy today, and I seen you post that, and I'm like, oh shit, what's up with this like NFT? I was like, okay, this has to do with like the actual council and stuff like that, and I think that people need to, and I'm not telling you what to do. I'm just saying that if you haven't gotten to the part to where you're actually utilizing your assets and like looking like how to vote or just really getting in DeFi, I think you're doing yourself a disservice, because there's so much more to just holding a token and then hoping the price goes up. You can literally, vote and get paid to vote. You can do so many different things. But I think that the main thing that I want to, give to everyone here is that what Telcoin is building is something that you can utilize. So understand how to utilize it before it's too late and everyone utilizes it. And then you may be like, oh, wow, I really didn't get to benefit it in the way that I wanted to. So just always make sure you're doing a little bit extra to kind of make sure that you're taking advantage of the situation without like hurting anyone. Do you get what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
well said, Cody. And that's back to, like, listen, if you don't provide liquidity, go on here and read how it benefits you, and maybe it changes your mind, and then go to Andrew's educational website and learn how it all works. I mean, so take that extra step, because as this thing snowballs, those benefits might get less and less, just because there's so many people that are participating.
One
100%.
one thing worth mentioning too, and I'll be the devil's advocate because I know you represent a DeFi company. Impermanent loss is a very big
Hmm.
thing. With an asset that has such a high supply, like Telcoin, with where I think the price is heading, if you're pairing it with any other asset that isn't going to raise at the same rate, you stand to lose a large percentage of your Telcoin quantity. The dollar value will
Hmm.
rise, but it is always balancing depending on the pool you're using. So just be very, very diligent that you understand what impermanent loss is and how it works. Every pool is different depending on how it's balanced. So be very diligent prior to committing any of your precious token.
Yeah, and we can hold a space all in itself for that, and Andrew can speak
Just
heavily.
saying, don't get me
Oh,
started.
yeah, I know. He can speak heavily on impermanent loss and how to.
I got screwed last time, dude. It eroded my tail bag so hard. Like
Yeah,
I
I
lost
think the
so much
biggest
sleep.
the biggest thing you got to worry about is having a strategy, enter exit points, and stuff like that. To your point, right?
Yep.
Again, having a strategy to understand if you are okay with a balanced portfolio. For example, Tel DFX USDC 40-40-20. If you put $1,000 into that pool, and you know what, I'm happy at a portfolio level to be 40%, 40%, 20% in those assets, then you don't really care, right? To that point. But again, yes, you're going to lose out if you didn't, just take that out and hold the tokens if they, appreciate. Obviously, the USDC is not going to appreciate, but um, you know what, it's really depends on your strategy. And if the incentives and fees is what you're there for, and the goal is to increase your tel token amount, then you need to have a strategy in place to say that if tel appreciates by x%, okay, well then I'm hitting my my threshold or my break even point, and I want to stay up 10% on my investment or whatever the number is. Okay, I need to pull at at this level. And that's the beauty of telx and the greater Telcoin network and platform, is that you have the ability to do that whenever you want, however you want, right? So the financial freedom that you guys are seeking and looking for is going to be optimized and managed by you, the individual, right? Like, to Cody's point, and what Steve's saying too, is you got to take that responsibility on yourself to do the due diligence, to understand the mechanisms and how you can benefit from it, and then put a strategy in place that should something happen, what, you're prepared to make some moves to continue down that
Yeah,
path, right? Like, it's definitely a good strategy too, to maybe put in at the top and accumulate more tel tokens, if we're going into a bear market. And then if you want, pull out towards the bottom, and then convert everything back to tel and ride the wave back up, like, you have the ability to do that, right?
and I don't want
So it's
to
just about setting strategies and everything. And yeah, you're right. I can probably talk about this
I
forever,
don't
but
want to speak
I'll
for I don't want to speak for D40, but like I said, we've had conversations that go back years. So it might have been that time where we were just getting into, a Telex launched, and we're putting in, or even on Balancer, right? I started on Balancer, and in my mind, in the beginning, it was a set it and forget it. Just throw your tokens in, and it's going to do you good. You're just going to get returns, but that's not the case, and you learn quickly, right? So, Bradley,
yeah.
I know you came up here as soon as the permanent loss started coming up. I saw you raise your hand and wanted to speak, buddy. So
I just wanted to ask a quick question as far as the whole telex and providing the liquidity. Is this something that eventually in the future is going to be integrated into the actual Telcoin app, where it'll be just user friendly, where I can just set my, whether it's a 40-40-20 split, however you want to, all the options that you can get on the Telex exchange or the.
I would assume in the future, like, we see something like that with the release of the Telcoin Association, and all the different councils and the different miner groups. Like, you have different roles and responsibilities, and we'll obviously get into that later. But you have a specific cohort of miners that are specific around development
mhm.
of DApps that are going to connect to the Telcoin network and the Telcoin platform. So, if you are a GSMA member, you have that ability to, provide different apps for that platform. And obviously, that would be one that would make it a lot more user friendly and easier for people that aren't as crypto savvy to get into Telex in general. But again, still need to make sure that you do your due diligence, do some education. You have impermanent loss that you need to understand, the liquidity pools, not everybody fully understands that either. Again, I would say for me, it's a hope that that down the road we do have the easy access in app to provide liquidity to Telx. But we can't say for certain, as we're not part of the team. And even if somebody from the team was up and talking, I guarantee you
They
they would
wouldn't
not
say
confirm
yet.
it
Yeah,
anyway.
Nick, I think everybody that's listening that participates on the Telex platform is hoping that it goes to an in-app scenario. Just so it's, not that you ever want to keep
just opens the path to everybody to get
yeah,
into it.
not that you want to keep all your assets in one place, but instead of having to bounce them out to an external wallet, just to provide liquidity in one of their own uh, pools that they have on their platform, you would think that would be, in app. So
Yeah.
Yo, I just want to say, super stoked to see D4 back in here. For somebody who's only been in for 2 or 3 years, um, going back and doing the, you know, research that you provided in Power Holders and on Twitter, like your research along with the likes of, Cody and Chef and everything like that was extremely valuable in my bullishness to even get into Telcoin and be invested as much as I am today. So super stoked to see you back in,
yeah,
dude.
right on.
Love seeing it. Especially
Appreciate that, dude.
bullish now. Like, I love it. Very.
Well, listen, I've always been bullish. It's just in crypto, much like Andrew said, it's like you want to have a plan, and markets do what markets are going to do, and sure they can be manipulated, and you don't necessarily have to like hang on, by the skin of your teeth just to continue hodling if you think you know where it's going to go. I'll give you a good example of always have a plan and me not having one. I provided liquidity on Telex and Tel started to moon. I FOMO'd, okay, and I bailed out. If I had just kept that liquidity going, I would have been able to accrue fees the whole time. And 6 months later, I would have, because Tel went back down, I would have had way more Tel than I put in. So, like, just stick, like, if you're going to do liquidity, just do not touch the damn thing. Don't look at it. Don't monitor it. Pretend it's like a 401k or a Roth IRA.
Well,
If
again, it
that's
depends
your
on
plan.
what the strategy is, right? If the strategy is to acquire more Tel, you got to be careful too, because if it appreciates, then you're gonna lose that. But like I've done the math too. Like if you put in a million Tel into the Tel USDC 50/50 at all time high and kind of got out towards all time low, you would have 8x'd the amount
Ooh,
of Tel you would have had.
nice.
But I just want I know we got a couple guys up here, and I'm loving the interaction with the group. But we're 47 minutes in, and Steve, we haven't even really like dove in yet.
We listen. How
Um,
many times have we told everybody
I know.
across X that this is going to be a lengthy conversation? So get your coffee, whiskey, beer, whatever it is, and take notes. I mean, yeah, I mean, this is great. We got 100 people, just in the room, and typically uh, we're not that high, and then we get a ton of listens afterwards. So it's going really well. And I appreciate everybody's attendance. It's especially there. I know there's a bunch of guys that said they were staying up and coming on from across the pond. So if you're in here, a big shout out, kudos to you guys for hopping on too. So
Yeah, much appreciated. Yeah, so maybe we'll let Bradley and Liberty. I don't know if you wanted to come up and say anything too, and then maybe Steve. Let's take some time and dive into
yeah,
the association and everything else a little bit more, and then maybe we can open it up to Q&A and maybe 20-30 minutes or something
yeah,
like that.
for sure.
All right, Bradley, you got the floor.
Hey, I appreciate you guys, and I appreciate everything that you guys do on a daily basis. And Twitter the last couple weeks has been awesome. So, um, I, I mean, Steve, you already know why
Yeah,
why I raised
I
my hand.
did. Yeah, we said
My
impermanent loss, and your hand went up. So,
my ass is finally not
yeah,
chapped from my experience. I lost a very substantial amount on impermanent loss because I bailed at the wrong time. And, it was one of those things I saw it running up and I was like, oh shit, if it keeps on running, you know, like where we're at now today, like I saw, twice as much that I would have
hmm
lost. So it did eventually go back down, which is great, but timing that is going to be
yeah,
everything. But my question was more about understanding how to figure out what your best, because I'm not very savvy with the staking and the rewards and all that stuff. But like if I say, okay, my goal is to obtain as much Tel as possible because I fully believe in Tel. I think, some of the other coins are great, but my heart's in Tel. So I It's something I've been following since 2020 and been invested in. So, is there, I don't know, someone who I can reach out to, or a way to like tailor a general idea of a plan of what I should be doing, or something I can even research myself,
Sure.
because I don't know where to start.
Andrew, it sounds like it's time. It's time
I
to
was just gonna
get a separate community
Yeah, Bradley,
space.
let's take it to DMs because there's a lot of questions I will ask you first to get a better understanding of your strategy and what your purpose is, and then I can help guide you along that way. But there's a lot of factors that for me at least go into it. Not only market sentiment, but like you said, what is the goal? What's your timing? What's your risk threshold? What other tokens do you like? A whole bunch of other stuff. So we can take it to DMs and I can help you as much as I can, get you going through that process and setting up a strategy.
One thing I will say is we still need a Tel DFX 50/50 pool. I don't care who has to put the vote out on what website or what platform. That is
Permissionless means that you can do whatever you want, Steve. So
true.
once V3 is ready to go, fucking
I'm
do it,
fucking
buddy.
doing it then.
Put it down there, then use your VEDFX to vote. Once it gets on the gauge, and
Ah, you
boom,
got it.
Let's
I'm
go.
going for it.
it'll be like 100, 150.
I'm going for it because the best case scenario, guys, is you pick two assets that go up pretty close together, and you can reap some massive rewards, right? So
If you go into the pool and they both at one point appreciate at the same level, there is zero impermanent
that's
loss.
right. Yeah,
But I would say it's rare that happens. But anyways,
it's pretty rare.
Liberty, we'll give you the floor if you wanted to pop in and say anything before we kind of jump into more of the more recent news.
No, I don't really have much to say.
All right, see you later.
Doing
Mute him now.
again, yeah, I'm doing that giveaway. I'll wait until the end. I'll do screenshots so you're still around, and then I'll figure it out from there. Just try to give me like maybe a. This is going to be impossible. Give me like a 30 minutes heads up. That's going to turn into like an hour and a half heads up. But
yeah, I was going to say good luck. Our over under is not always the best, but
yeah,
we'll try to let you know for sure.
okay.
Okay. One last speaker before we go. I noticed Crypto Drops requested, so let's give them the floor, and then Steve, let's mute everybody and let's dive into to the new telcoin.org website.
All right. Nope.
Crypto Drops, you there? Looks like he's off mute.
Yeah.
No, he dropped.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
Let's just dive in. So yeah, quick recap on the Telcoin Association. Again, more of a legal structure from that perspective, to put everything together. Obviously, a nonprofit organization that is going to be essentially the front of the existing platform kind of moving forward, and through that, like Steve, I don't know if you want to read through kind of the mission and vision. We can do that. Like, we're not going to go through all of the values. There is a list of 23 values, and I put that through ChatGPT and to tell it to explain it to me like I was 5, and it gave me an example of playing nice in a sandbox, which I had a kind of a good laugh at, but like, essentially, the values that they put forth, like in those 23, was just having clearly defined boundaries, essentially fair rules for everybody, making decisions collectively and together, having different checks and balances throughout the entire ecosystem, having consequences for breaking rules. So that's a good thing that we need to take care of and understand too. How to fix problems, everybody having equal say, and then sharing essentially with others.
Yeah,
So
what was impressive.
I kind of got.
Oh, yeah. Oh, sorry about that. Yeah, but what was impressive is even when they got down to the conflict resolution mechanisms, right? They have a host of different councils that can mitigate, these conflict resolutions, and I thought that was over and beyond, right? I mean, I know they're building out this infrastructure, but to take it to that level that, hey, we don't know if it's going to happen, but if it does happen, here's how we're going to fix it, you know?
Yeah, well, even one of them is like I took a couple of them, just like notable ones. Like one, the subtraction. Like the association should maintain awareness of the natural tendency of power to corrupt and create structures to maintain healthy checks and balances, reasonably designed to foster diverse community involvement in operation and decision making to dilute power accumulation in any area. Like they've thought about it all.
No, yeah,
Like right, like, and like that's like a great thing to like point out because like everybody probably subconsciously thinks of that, but then to actually vocalize it and put it down in a document where they're saying like, okay, we know, over time corruption, with power could happen. We're going to do our best, through this decentralized process to mitigate that to the highest level,
yeah.
right? So I don't know. Like I said today, like for me going through everything, like my mind has just been blown with
Yeah.
I have a
the amount
question.
of detail and thought that goes into it.
Yeah, go ahead.
Is Paul the modern day George Washington or Benjamin Franklin, perhaps?
We gonna write a is Lin Manuel Miranda gonna write a play about him or what? I think so.
We'll see.
Yeah, but I think it's important. You touched on it. You know, the mission, vision, and values. I think just the vision. I think it's short, but I think it's to the point, and I think it's important that people understand and this is the Telcoin Association vision, not the Telcoin company vision, right? So specifically to the Telcoin Association vision, and I'm going to read it verbatim, is to create a globally adopted, self-sustaining ecosystem, which those are key words for me, and that piques my interest. That aligns GSMA MNOs and mobile phone users across the world around a common blockchain infrastructure, empowering them with self-custodial products and services, and their inclusive, decentralized governance. Right. So, I mean, if you break that vision down, I mean, it's everything that I think from the ground up as we got into this adventure into crypto, and we all selected Telcoin as the one of our horses that we're going to gamble on. To see that statement, uh, is truly a powerful statement to me, right? Um,
Well, even if you take out the key words,
yeah,
globally adopted,
yep, yep,
self-sustaining, mobile phone,
yeah,
common goal,
right.
blockchain infrastructure, and
Decentralized, right?
self-custodial
Decentralized governance.
financial
Yeah,
products
yeah.
through governance.
Yeah, I mean,
Like
it is a perfect summary of what you would expect after all this time, you know.
doesn't get any better. I'm jacked up,
Yeah,
man.
I'm jacked up too. Yeah, so it's yeah. it's, uh,
I don't know if it's the whiskey or if it's the Telcoin
uh,
Association. I'd say more on the association, but the whiskey's
how
helping.
about the whiskey and the coffee? That's helping me. So yeah,
Oh, you need
yeah,
both?
I need both.
Yeah, the bullishness. I mean, my bullishness just it 10x when I read through the
Yeah,
documents.
yeah,
I mean, it's basically like all the crazy fringe BS Cody said for 2 years, like was actually true,
yeah,
and it all like kind of played out almost exactly as he like tried to hint at it. It literally blew my effing
yeah,
mind.
Yeah, and that's why I said like this is like the biggest drop that they've ever done. Like obviously like, V3 and Telex and all that kind of the liquidity engine that is, eventually going to be um, the source of like the banking and all the kind of different apps and exchanges that they can use that are going to be flowing through that. Like that was a huge announcement at the time too. But like for me, like this like is ridiculous. It's incredible. It's well detailed. It's organized. Ugh, I like yeah.
Wait until we find out like what mobile network operators are part of
Well,
this.
that's the next thing. We've
I
already
mean,
seen in the docs that you know what they need a minimum of 10 to validate. They've talked about 20.
hmm
They've talked in the docs that part of the GSMA and MNOs. There's 667. Even if you get 10% of that, you get 67 of them,
yeah,
right?
then we
It,
go to Valhalla. I mean, at that point,
wow,
we're
like
we're
don't
meeting with
even
Thor and Odin.
yeah, we're not even talking about circulating supply and the fact that they need to stake in order to validate blocks, to try to get more issuance in incentives
yeah, and
and
then
more gas
just wait
fees,
until
and
we
then
get to
pushing
the
that out to the
and wait till
customers
we get to
and
the
yeah,
burn
yeah,
and regenerate stages and all that stuff, when it comes to the,
yep,
it's
yep,
it's
yep, 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 yep.
crazy.
Let's go.
Yeah. Yeah, it's absolutely crazy. I mean, and now we're only to the Constitution. We're looking at is the legal framework of what they set up, and we're an hour in, right? So we should probably, I don't know if we, Andrew, if you,
It's because you're talking too much.
it's not
That's the
me,
problem.
pal. It's, it's uh, no. So they've written an entire constitution for their self governance, right? So it can be
Which, to note, will be the first proposal that goes
correct. Yep.
through the governance system, right? So that'll be the first one to solidify the Constitution in writing,
Hmm.
and pin it on the wall that here are the set of rules, governance document, that are going to feature the parameters of how the association is going to be overseen and how the members are going to operate together through running that association, which is essentially the Telcoin platform.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, we're not going to read the entire Constitution, but I would encourage you guys, if you haven't poked around in the documents, you can easily find it on telcoin.org under the association document overview. You can read through that if you want. I don't know if you read it verbatim, Andrew, but it's
I read the entire thing probably 2 or 3 times, which took me a good full night, 3-4 hours to kind of go through, absorb it like a sponge as much as I could. But yeah, like I was joking around with some people too. I think over the last couple nights, I'm like, you know what, I'm intaking way too much that my brain is just exploding,
yeah,
and like I either got to go to bed or take a couple Tylenol just to kind of calm down a little. But yeah,
correct.
it's a lot of information to take in, and but still, it's all good information. And like I said, if you want to have a better understanding of the entire network or ecosystem, I highly recommend and suggest that you do a deep dive in these docs. And to what D40 mentioned too, it just increases your bullishness on Telcoin.
Agreed.
So
Yeah,
Yeah, there's zero doubt at that point because like you know exactly what you're buying,
you're reading
you,
it, yeah,
you know
exactly.
what you own,
I
and
know I know there's a lot of lazy people out there, and they're going to rely on these spaces and following key people in the community to rely on that to get that information, I should say. But I don't know how much do your own research is said in the crypto space. It's said for a reason, right? You want to have convictions, and how strong are those convictions? Well, you've got to deep dive yourself, go down the rabbit hole, and if you do specifically with this information, from what I've seen, and obviously D40, you've echoed that, is you're going to be more excited about it than ever.
yeah, and even to add to what D40 said, I mean, not only do you know what you're buying, but you also know what you're earning and how that's going to happen, and how you can best benefit your earnings, and how you can vote to change the entire infrastructure to benefit the user, right? So, I mean, it's not only just buying it because we're bullish on it because they have all this documentation, but we're also going to be able to participate in what they've built, and participate at a big rate, so that's what I mean, I'm over the moon bullish on being able to participate, as much as I possibly can in the ecosystem, and reap the rewards of it.
Big time. Yeah. Do we want to jump into kind of some more specifics around kind of like the minor groups and the different councils?
Yeah, there was a couple things I wanted to touch base on, right? So underneath the document overview, there is so there's a Telcoin Association rationale, and I would highly encourage everybody to go and read that too, right? So there's some really key takeaways in there, and I just want to note a couple. I know we talked about the Swiss Verin or Verin, whatever we did earlier, but and the advantages of doing what they're doing, which they call legal structure versus regime-less structure. But there's a phrase in here that really stood out to me, and I'm going to read it verbatim again. It's Telcoin believes that blockchain-based community pool resources self-governed by local users and groups should be able to benefit from the same protections, clarity, and resources they enjoy from incorporating formal legal structures in the physical world of property and the digital world of property. So what that says to me is not only are they building this out to protect themselves as a customer, but they're building this out for the liquidity providers and the stakers and everybody else that is going to participate in this ecosystem, that you're going to enjoy some of those legal protections that they offer throughout the entire platform. So I thought that was a pretty big statement by and carry for what they're offering their users.
Yeah, I think even at 1.2 in the 50 pages or 50,000 pages of documents that are on this website, they did mention, because I remember reading it, about like even having the ability to have legal counsel appointed to you
Hmm.
in a certain situation, right? So I don't know if that is specific to individuals, probably more so on like the validator kind of side of things, higher level, I would
Hmm.
imagine. But again, you know what? To your point, right? They're not specifically focused on Telcoin, the company, the people that work there. They're focused on
The
everybody that is
ecosystem.
a part of this network and the
Yeah.
ecosystem. Like it is a for all by all plan, that is, and again, I'll say this a million times tonight, but like so well thought out, so well planned, so well organized, that you know what, they've unearthed all the rocks, they've looked at all the challenges, they've foreseen what's going to happen in the future. Anything that could and can go wrong, they've thought about it, they've put a plan in place for it, and again, whether that's legal or not, you have those reassurances there that everybody is part of one team, one family, when you get a part of this Telcoin platform and this
Yeah,
Telcoin
what
association.
centralized exchange is saying, hey, come into our ecosystem and we'll make sure you're doing things on the up and up and stay legal and we'll protect you from, from
Isn't FTX 2.0 doing
yeah,
that?
yeah. I'm holding my breath. So,
It was obviously a joke, people, if you can't catch my
yeah.
sarcasm
He is Canadian, so bear with us, right? So, yeah.
there.
Hey.
Hey.
Uh, yeah, so let's. I know you wanted to talk a little bit about the miners, which are the primary actors on the platform ecosystem, right? So, you want to jump into that?
Yeah. Yeah, sure. Like, so essentially, you've got four different kind of minor groups, which is going to be kind of your stakers, which are retail individual users, could be merchants as well, that are staking in app on the TAN network. You've got your validators as well, that are going to be your GSMA MNOs who are validating nodes, attaching new blocks to the Telcoin network. You've got the developer side of things as well, who are creating and developing different applications to connect to the Telcoin network and the Telcoin platform. Uh, and then you've got your liquidity miners, which is essentially your people that are taking part in the telex side of things. But yeah, like it's pretty straightforward in terms of like who these miners are. But the other part of it too is just like looking at the different councils that they put through this governance structure, right? So like on the highest level, like you're looking at like the Telcoin platform and the platform council, I should say, and the Treasury Council, which is going to be known as more of your global councils, which again the role is more of like the global decision making, with general purposes nested jurisdictional authority over the system as a whole, and the Tel Treasury, right? And then you go down to kind of more of like the local level, which is going to be more for like the decision making units, with authority to determine harvesting and provisioning rules governing interactions with individual networks of the platform. So the councils that are going to be part of that is the TAN Council, which is the Telcoin Application Network, and then the Telex Council, and then you've got even like special purpose cross jurisdictional councils, which is the Compliance Council, which obviously they're going to be focused on the jurisdictional regulatory requirements of the platform and the governance systems, to perform those kind of specialized tasks and whatnot. And then they also mentioned too that you've got administrative units. So these are basically organizations that perform specialized operational functions at the financing and direction of the minor councils, which is essentially the Telcoin Association Operations (UAB), which is also known as the TAO. So, like again, complex in terms of the different roles, responsibilities, and how these members will be appointed, but also pretty simplistic in trying to minimize who does what, whose roles and responsibilities for different tasks and whatnot is going to be appointed to them. um, so they've got different roles, like I said, which is going to be around like planning, funding of the platform's construction and maintenance, which is a little bit more on like the development side of things, the distribution of the tel tokens through the burn and regenerate mechanism, which is obviously going to be fostered through the tel treasury, setting rules for harvesting tel, which is going to be a consortium of the different minor groups to understand of the different or the amount of tel that is regenerated into the treasury. How do we allocate that tel to be harvested as issuance to different stakers, whether it be people that are staking an app, whether it be developers, maybe whether it be validators, or whether it be people providing liquidity. So
Andrew, I just want to jump
yes,
in
Steve, feel.
here. So, guys,
Yeah, please.
as we go through this, and if you're just a visual person, I would also encourage you to go on telcoin.org. And under each one of these groups, or most of these groups, they actually have diagrams of how the inflows and outflows of all of this works. Like if the development or developer inflow and outflow into the TAN network, how the inflow and outflow flow of the LPTs work between the liquidity miners and TELX, how that interacts with the TEL treasury, how the TEL treasury interacts with the Telcoin network, all the way down to the validators, right? So if you're more of a visual person, because I'm not a big reader, and this has been a very big challenge for me to get through this. But I can always also I have this diagram up on my screen right now as we speak, so I can make sure that I get a visual representation of what they're doing too, because it's a lot, right? So if you're in front of your computer and you have a chance and you can go on there and pull up one of these diagrams that help you, just help navigate the course of what's going on and what we're speaking to, yeah, I would highly encourage you to do that.
For sure. And then like another point too, with like all of the councils, like it's all, I would say, well represented in terms of the diversity of the people that are going to be included. So like in every single council, you have at least one representative from each group, or minor group, I should say. So you have a minimum of somebody coming from the staking side, the telex side, the validator side, and the developer side, right? So like they've thought about having everybody has a voice in all of these councils as well. Like the platform council is essentially 8 members, which again they've described it as a balanced representation. So there's no specifics on who's going to be involved, but I got to assume at least one of each group is going to be a part of that,
Mhm.
and then the other 4 is going to be for whoever. Similarly with like the Treasury Council, maybe it's 4 members, but maybe you have a different person from each kind of different group. Um, Similarly with the compliance, again, 4 members, balanced representation. But then you get to like the TAN Council, 6 members. So you got to have 2 from the staking side, 2 from developers, 1 from liquidity, and 1 validator. When you look at the Telex Council, you got 6 members. 3 of them are going to be from liquidity, and then 1 from each of the others. And then on the TAO side, the Association of Operations Council, again, you got 5 members that are going to be chosen by essentially the team at that
There's
point.
already members appointed to that, right, as the executive group on the
For
TAO?
some of
Yeah.
them,
Okay.
yes. So I think Paul, like original members, there's Paul and Parker, and some Telcoin organizers shall be the initial members of the association. The organization shall automatically resign and their authority terminated upon the council's beginning constituted. So once like that proposal, that initial proposal to cement the Constitution as it is laid out, then it sounds like Paul and Parker will sit down, and then new members will be voted upon through the governance system and be appointed to different roles into different councils to do that. So looking at it from, let's say, the retail perspective, me and you, Steve, if we're staking an app, we have the ability to apply to be, a member of that council. If we're providing liquidity on Telex, we have the ability to apply to be a member of that council. Whether or not we get voted in, that's another story. But you know what? At least the opportunity is there for each individual to state their case, and whether or not it's going to be pushed forward, by the community. That's up to the community. But at least as the kind of retail people, a part of this community, you still have the opportunity to have a pretty big say, to be a part of these councils where a lot of the decisions are going to be made on how the Telcoin platform and network and association continue to move forward.
Listen, I'm throwing it out here to everybody listening and everybody that's going to listen to afterwards. If Mr. Andrew is not on the Telex council, we are doing ourselves a disservice. So I want to make sure that the entire community is ready to vote for him when it becomes appropriate. So just throwing it out there.
I appreciate that.
Yeah,
Steve. Thank
you
you.
got it.
We'll see how
No,
things
I'm
go.
I'm
And
beating your drum,
I'm
my friend. Yeah, we'll get you on there. You're doing
I won't say no,
okay.
but yeah,
So,
I would definitely. Hey, listen, I'm open to it. I got to do a deeper dive into all of this stuff too. Like, I'm not going to say I've read every single word on the telcoin.org website yet,
mhm.
but the plan is to do that multiple times to get a true understanding of the entire ecosystem.
Yep.
And if that comes to fruition, I'd be happy to voice my opinion and be a part of it to help everything move forward. But I know there's you know more than just myself that would put their names in the hat to try to help the
I don't
ecosystem
give a
move
shit,
forward. And
man.
Steve, I gotta imagine you're one of those, and you'll have my support if you do choose to do so as
Wait,
well.
so I encourage the entire Telfam community to support you, and I only get your support? Is that the trade-off?
I
This is
can't speak
bullshit.
for
No.
everybody. I can't speak for everybody,
Yeah,
but
fair enough. No, and so guys, I might be jumping a little bit ahead, but when Andrew was talking about the different types of miners, the validators, the liquidity miners, the app developers, and also the stakers. If you dive into the weeds on the Telcoin Association, on the actual platform itself, they actually take back to the roots of what the Telcoin token is, how it applies to each one of these miners. It also it details the revenue generated off it and how it's used in governance, right? So I mean, not only have they spent the time to build all this new stuff, but they also took the time to say, hey, here's the original token that we released, and this is exactly how it's going to be used and how you can earn from this in each one of these stages of mining, depending on how you can participate. So it's brilliant, right? It's brilliant, and the documentation is well written, and I'll say it 100 times tonight. I encourage everybody to go out there and read it. I know it's a tough go, but because it's a lot.
well, but you could break it down
Yeah,
over time too. Really, like, consider it reading a book, and take each section as a different chapter, and do it over
yeah,
time. But I would, if you're passionate about Telcoin, I would familiarize myself with these documents to understand what it's all about. And to Cody's point earlier, like, no one's going to make you rich. The only person that's going to make you rich is you,
yeah,
right? So look at the entirety of it, understand how you can, potentially benefit from it, whether that's providing liquidity to Telex, whether that's blasting out, tweets on Twitter, X, like DB, getting referrals, getting associated fees from people using the app. like there's a lot of ways that we can, leverage ourselves to maximize the output of this network and this association. So
And I'll just
if you are willing to put the time in, you know what, you will likely reap the rewards of it down the road. And again, I think we've talked about this before in past spaces, and I know we've had conversations about it too, but if somebody uses your referral code, it's like almost for life that, they're going to be sending you a certain percentage of anything they do on that app.
yeah, I think DB's
you know
getting like 1 million Telcoin a day now, isn't he, or something crazy?
Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm jealous, I hate them,
yeah,
but I love them at the same
that's
time.
right. Now, I will say as well, and I obviously, I think a lot of us are biased that are up here speaking, but I've been around crypto, for quite some time now, and I've participated in communities and different tokens and everything else, and I can't, and I would ask that anybody raise their hand that knows of a platform that's this developed. I mean, this developed of a product, and I say that only for the last 10 days because I know there was, frustrations and everything as we patiently waited for these guys. Some of us patiently waited as this stuff got built out. Now, I still can't. I'm still wrapping my head around this, and I cannot even comparatively think of another project um, that is this company driven and focused on their ecosystem and building it out.
Yeah, another thing to add to that as well is, if you do the background on Paul, and you just kind of listen to some early interviews with him, like he's the real deal. Like he understands networking, he understands investment. Like the fact that they've been able to even exist this long with as many employees as they have had and have scaled means there are some seriously big MFers behind them that are investing massively. And they're not going to do that on just some typical BS, platform. This is as real as it gets, folks.
Well, don't
Really.
even look just at Paul. Look at the rest of the
Yeah.
team, right? Like Rajesh is a powerhouse. Like everything he says turns into gold. Like every time he goes to an event, like the Kilgani stuff, like and he's doing talking points. Like he's on these councils and these back and forth kind of platforms. And most of the time, like he's leading these conversations at these conferences, and he's killing it,
Mhm.
right? Josh, I'll give you props too. Like I know you're listening, but like the UX UI, the app, the websites, like the
Dialed in,
it's
man.
killing.
Dialed
Like
in. Yeah.
these they're not hiring just bums to fill positions. They're hiring like the top talent. They're going after people that they need to get to do this thing right. And again, I've criticized them too, over the last couple of years with communication and them being quiet and all this kind of stuff. But you know what, they've known internally what the end game was, and you know what, they probably sat there and said, "Oh man, like I can't wait until these guys see what we're working on. I know they're frustrated. I know what it's tough, and I know we can't say this because of that." But like if they just wait, like I can only imagine how many times that was said, like in the corridors at
Yeah,
Telfam.
and how many
Right.
D40s are out there that sold out of frustration over that period, I
Yeah,
mean, so
for sure. Like
They're
there's
all
gonna
buying
be.
back right now. I mean, just look at the damn
I
chart.
know.
You have to do gymnastics to get to the damn token, and it's not slowing down. Like I said to you, Steve, a few days ago, I'm like, by every viewpoint I have, like Tel's just going to keep steamrolling upward. It may slow down, but it's not going to reverse, and it's just going to keep moving, just like it did last time, man. Like the train's leaving the
I
station.
can't imagine
Up and
any
to the right.
I
That's all we
I
want. Up and to the
I
right.
can't imagine anybody with any wherewithal in the crypto community taking a dive into what Andrew and I are talking about tonight and seeing it for themselves and wrapping around, okay, the token utility, the miners,
If you're bearish after reading like that website,
yeah,
there's something wrong.
then yeah, you're just a bear, right? I mean, you're not going to get out of that.
Well, that's being nice, but
Yeah,
yeah.
I had some other adjectives, but I was gonna,
You're on the lower side of that typical bell curve meme, but
yeah,
whatever.
Well,
Just,
it's because they're if you're bearish on Telcoin, it's probably because your idols just got arrested for the safe
Say,
mode.
yeah, that's right.
Just going off of the LinkedIn, like there are so many people that are connected to Telcoin who work.
Well, we didn't even mention Parker.
That
Parker
you-
crushed
Yeah.
this.
You can't even. There's so many people on LinkedIn who work for Telcoin. And I'm just like, holy crap! I didn't even know that guy existed. But then you get into Sedona and then Bizra, who they haven't even gone into or discussed how those are intertwined, and I'm sure they are. I mean,
And guys,
this is
what I said,
bigger than
yeah, what I said in the beginning of the space. I mean, we're not even touching on the fucking banking side, right? This is all just governance and ecosystem stuff. I mean, it's bananas.
and everybody who works for Bizra, everybody who works there is they're still, we still see them on the Discord. They're still doing customer service on Discord and whatnot. So they're still working for like both companies. So it's like, okay, there what's going on with this company now? And it's
Again,
wild.
to my point, they're so forward thinking, and like if we could just be a fly on the wall, the joke earlier, Steve, that you made is just like seeing that whiteboard and Parker saying don't touch that, like it's I'm gonna get there.
Yeah.
I'm gonna explain it to you guys. Don't worry, you'll get it.
3-year whiteboard, yeah.
That's a long
It's always,
whiteboard.
Yeah.
it's always sunny in Philadelphia. Like that meme just comes to mind where he's got everything going on, but.
I'm
Yeah,
sitting
to
here
your point,
watching
like
the chart.
they're
Who's selling? Goddamn, no. I'm kidding. Go ahead, Andrew.
No, I was just gonna say, like to Liberty's point, like it's just like they're thinking about everything. They're doing it the right way, and again, like we've said, over the last, let's say, year or two, like there's been frustration, but you know what? The light at the end of the tunnel is as bright as it's ever been. And I think we're going to get to a point where there's not even a tunnel anymore, and we're clear skies, sunlight, and it's days are good.
Yeah, and I think there's a point. There's also a point to be made of who took the reins of Telcoin and ran with it, right? This was an experienced business builder, right? It wasn't three crypto bros that started, a token and really didn't have the operational experience behind them. So uh, I think the path forward and what we see as the output is because of a structured uh, uh, business owner that's done it before and has been successful at it, right? I mean, I can't foresee after seeing this that any shit product is ever going to come out of Telcoin again. You know what I mean?
The founder of Mobius. I mean, he's got all the experience in the world when it comes to telecoms.
Yeah.
Those Paul Nooner undies are going to be flying off the Telcoin shop.
Man.
I told you, I did ask for those. I told my wife I wanted a pair for Christmas this year.
Jeez,
Let's see if I get
There's
them.
no way I could bring myself to do it. Yeah, so again, I know we're kind of
for the culture.
For the
Steve,
culture, yeah. I know we're deviating. We're deviating a little bit, but still back to.
Well, I didn't know.
Back to.
Oh, I am, but I didn't know where they came down early.
Cody,
come on, man.
Cody's out here.
Fucking guy.
Flirting with his wife or something.
Sell it. Sell quickly. Sell it.
No, but I guess we're deviating off of the discussion points tonight. But I think it's important that that we look at it holistically, right? And again, so I mentioned the banking side. We're not even talking about that. We're not even talking about the government side, the U.S. government side, and what they're doing there. Because I mean, everything's kind of either slowed down or we just haven't seen any movement lately. And I know there's Telfam that kind of monitors the progress of what started as LB 649 in Nebraska and all that stuff. So I mean, there's so many other moving pieces of this puzzle versus what we're just seeing. I mean, if again back to the point, if anybody looks at this stuff and says, "Oh, it's not a project for me," I can't help them.
Yeah, that exactly. But you know what? Like to your point, with the fact that we're going off in little tangents here and there, again, just goes to speak to the network effect of everything that they've thought of and put together.
Yeah.
Like the focus obviously tonight is on the Telcoin Association and understanding that aspect of it. But as we talk about it, different aspects of prior releases and prior products that have come out, and the web and how it's all intertwined, again, is still, I think, relative to the conversation, right? But to your point, like again, like the big thing is the latest release. But for me, like I said, it's just seeing it all kind of come together. Like we kind of had bits and pieces
Hmm.
before, and like you said, like the puzzle, like now we're seeing a network, a decentralized network coming together and forming together,
I
which
I would even
again is
say
major.
it in a different. I mean, not.
No, you can't say that,
Well,
Steve.
no, yeah,
No.
I couldn't even call it just a network, right? I mean, it's an entire ecosystem, right? It's from the ground up, from uh, the, the explanation of what the token is and how it's used across the platform, to the councils, to the it's the rules, the property rights, the legalities of setting up the Varen, or however you want to say it. I mean, it's just so.
I want to say it's Varane, like I don't know, but whatever.
Yeah, whatever. You want to call it
That's
Varain,
that's
call it
my that's
Varain,
my
okay?
Canadian
Yeah.
accent. It's the Canadian accent coming
Yeah,
out.
fair enough. But I just, it's a big piece of this cog, and that we're getting exposed to, and I just couldn't be more excited.
Totally agree. Um, I'll mention one thing too. I think we've talked a lot about how participation is done. I'll just go through it quickly because I had a few points on the different kind of, I would say, maybe actors and kind of how they're
Yep.
involved. But obviously, we know GSMA side, like they have the exclusive right to participate as validators of the Telcoin network, but also can deploy their own applications and provide market liquidity. So they can be involved in the telex side of things. They can be involved in the developer side of things as well. So Steve will have to work on a way to get Steve O Telco up and running, and we can be a GSMA member and start validating
Don't
nodes too,
don't
so we
laugh,
can
pal.
benefit from it.
Don't laugh. Don't. Do you,
I didn't until you
stay
said
out of the
that.
wheels, out of the way of my wheels of progress. So,
Well, I'm gonna trademark now. Steve O Telco is mine.
fair enough.
Yeah, so then even participation from the developer side. So any GSMA member that can develop and deploy decentralized applications that are integrated with the Telcoin platform and run them on the Telcoin network. So that's obviously going to be more of like the mobile money kind of stuff, like the Gcash, where they take um, their existing app, create some APIs and lock it into the Telcoin network. And the beauty part of this too is like you might have a lot of people unknowingly using the Telcoin network,
Yep.
um, and just have like absolutely no idea, right? Like they can be, oh, I'm going to update my app, my Gcash app, and oh, all of a sudden I can trade crypto. I can, send remittances. I can, once banking things get going, oh, I can, put a loan out there at a certain, interest rate, and people can borrow off me, and that they would have no idea that they're using the actual Telcoin network, right? Like I think that's why this is so big too, is like you're going to have so many people not necessarily knowing how to navigate through the crypto sphere and the space, utilizing these features and benefits that are going to only benefit the MNOs that are going to get them on board, or the people that are referring them to the app and stuff like that, right? So like it's just like the network effect of all of this stuff is just so big.
Right, and that goes back to the core of what they started with, was remittances, right? To build out
Yep.
that piece uh, requires this entire network and system to be able to participate in that, right? So now they have the developer side and the GSMA and everything else. I mean, so all those stars are aligning, even though they're participating in some capacity now, you see that on their website they list them all as 16 countries, I think it is. But now, I mean, this is an entirely different level of participation in the network. So
100%. Yeah. So continue on with the participation side. So you got the liquidity providers as well. So anybody meeting the Telcoin Association basic criteria can participating by providing liquidity to Telex DeFi liquidity pools and earn associated rewards and transaction fees. And you want to know what the basic criteria is? Having an internet connection.
Yep.
Literally, like that's it.
Yep.
The criteria is: can you connect to the internet? You can provide liquidity to Telex. That's it. Amazing. Love it. And if and when that is associated and integrated into the app, it's going to be so much easier for people to do that. Again, I still feel that when that happens, like there needs to be an educational piece around like the impermanent loss and like all that kind of stuff to it as well. And maybe there's like earn 100 tel, 1,000 tel by watching this video, kind of thing when they launch it, just to get people to understand that, because to D40's and Bradley's experience, right? It could be pretty detrimental. You can see the dollar value increase, but obviously you'd be in a much better position if you just held onto the asset, depending on the situation. But anyway,
Yeah, imagine for me, I think it's a blessing that we aren't on Coinbase or any other centralized exchange that America really
we
truly
are the exchange,
loves.
man.
No, I get that.
I'm kidding.
That's phase 3 in a 3-step process here. So I think hopefully that's potentially on the table. Maybe not. Maybe they just want to grow it organically like they're doing. Just more time to accumulate the token if you believe in it.
Yeah, I think long term though, like you want more people providing liquidity, because the more liquidity you have, like the less slippage you have, the more fees that are provided, like all that kind of stuff. Like there's that flywheel that Parker talked about, and it's on like the Telex docs and stuff like that. Like you want that TVL to increase, right? Then that's part of the system, to make it a little bit more decentralized and a little bit more whole. So I think long term, you know what, I personally would appreciate having the ability to provide and whatnot to Telex. Because you're not going to get as many people, I think, participating if they have to do it web based. They got to connect them, MetaMask wallet or this, that, whatever. What's MetaMask? What's this? What's that? Like grandma's not going to do that, right? But if grandma can say like, hey, I've got $1,000 in my Telcoin wallet and I want to put it into a liquidity pool. Okay, well, here's 3 taps of an app, and
Yep.
boom, we're ready to go, right? But anyways, I'm not obviously part of the development side of the world, but this is all just what I would appreciate and prefer down the road, but we'll see. So continuing on with the participation side, you obviously have the kind of retail TEL token holder. So this is essentially anybody meeting the association basic criteria, again, having an internet connection, that can participate as stakers in the Telcoin platform and earn referral fees. So again, that's anybody that downloads the app, puts somebody else's referral code in, stakes TEL into the earn TEL section, and then moves forward from there, right? And we've even seen through the docs too, that down the road, through the TAO, that you'll also harvest TEL issuance through just staking in the app. So that's a little bit more towards like what I think most people in crypto consider as traditional staking. And again, I know we've talked about it kind of, Steve, in like some of our smaller groups, but whether or not like there's some legalities behind that because it's tied to governance and whatnot. I know there's some legal ramifications for most crypto companies that are just kind of proof of stake kind
Mhm.
of harvesting, which isn't necessarily legal because you're just basically putting something in to get money out, which there's no legal ramification for that or whatever. But so I'd be curious to dive into that a little bit more. But again, at the end of the day, you know what, even if, you know, you're not too involved as an investor or, you know, whatever, and you don't want to take as much um, ownership of your financial responsibilities, like you take a certain amount of your money, you stake it into to the Tel app. Not only will you get those referral fees back, but you'll also get a little bit back just for having, you know, that Tel staked in the Tel app.
Yeah, and to expound on that a little bit, I mean, I know there was some uh, grumblings, I guess, when the in-app staking for referrals first came out, right? But now that I see the big picture of, hey, we're offering something to everyone that participates within the Telcoin ecosystem, right? So if you don't want to provide a liquidity, uh, you can still just stake and refer, right? I mean, so yeah, is it simple? Does it does it do the same things as some of the other platforms or choices you can make? No, it doesn't. But it's an offering to some people that maybe want to stay in app, right, and not risk impermanent loss. And all you got to do is get the word out, and you can be rewarded for it. So now that I see it all in a big list of, hey, these are the participating paths, it makes even that much more sense to me.
Well, even look at it from like an actual Telcoin company perspective, like marketing
Sure.
perspectives, they don't need to do anything,
Yeah.
right? Like they rely on the GSMAs to pitch it, the MNOs to pitch it to their customers. They rely on, you know, dummies like us to pitch it to our buddies and our
Hey,
families
hey,
to
I'll,
get
I'll
more
take that free
people
Telcoin. I don't care.
for
Yeah.
sure. 100%. If I can only be like DB and
Oh yeah.
you know, rake in a million a
Yeah,
day, but you
he's
know,
buying
the
he's
point
buying the
is,
first beers when we all get together. So
oh,
yeah.
100%. DB owes me like beers, dinner.
Yeah,
I'm getting a big tomahawk steak when we go for dinner. But the point is, like, you know, like from like the actual company perspective, like they don't need to invest a lot in marketing because it's all going to be either through word of mouth through retail users like us, or it's going to be through the telecoms MNOs, you know, pitching it to their customer base, which we already know is, you know, in the hundreds of millions, if not billions of
yeah,
people, right?
yeah.
So
So if they
once
keep up with
things
the
get started, like it's in my opinion, like once things get started and, you know, the actual, you know, tel network is ready and to go and it's officially launched, things are going to happen pretty
I think
quickly.
so too. Yeah, and to your point, I mean, so one of the biggest gripes over the years has been, oh, they don't market, right? They don't market. But
But they don't need to
Well,
at this point,
that's
right? I
exactly,
mean,
yeah. You captured that quite eloquently. Is that they don't need to. They have these paths that, sure. Do they want to do media blasts or billboards or whatever the case is, get their name out there? Sure.
well, but there's a cost to it too, though,
Yeah.
right? Like if me as an individual, you know, stake a certain amount of tel in the app, like I'm going to get up to 42% of the
Yep.
fees,
Yeah.
right? So like there's a cost to it, but there's no cost over and above, you know, what they need to do to market,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? Like it's a more sustainable trajectory for them. Like right,
They're
like
advertising on Facebook. I see it all the time.
but well then that's great from that
Well,
perspective. I don't know what
Literally just
Facebook.
scrolled past an ad, to be honest with
What's
you.
Facebook?
Well,
I'm
it's
kidding. I'm
it's
kidding.
an arm of the government that likes to. It's part of the NSA.
Probably not too far
we
off,
all
but
we all laugh, but you're probably not too far off. Yeah.
I mean, obviously it listened and heard the word Telcoin and then showed me an ad.
Yeah.
But the fact that it did that, I was like, what the hell?
Well, again, so
well,
so yeah, I mean, let's look at it like if they keep up a social media presence, because let's be honest, I mean, you have to these days, but also rely on all this backdoor marketing efforts between users promoting their products for referral fees, and then the entire MNO network promoting it, or not even promoting it, just their customers are using it, and like Andrew said earlier,
and they don't
they don't
know.
even know they're
Yeah.
using it, right? So it's kind of a brilliant path forward, and I think we're gonna see.
Well, it's such an incentive for like those MNOs too, and like we can get into like the validator side of stuff now if you want, but like it's like for them, like if they're pushing blocks onto the Telcoin network, they're incentivized through the issuance of Tel to do that,
Yeah,
right? And the way that they have a higher strike rate of putting those blocks to the blockchain is through having more Tel through their customers, staked into the system. Like it's only a benefit for them. Like it's an untapped revenue generation for them, right? Over and above what they're doing now.
yep.
Like it's a net benefit to the highest level for them to jump on board and start doing this because they've never had access to that, right?
And they already got an audience as well, right? So I think like this is the whole time that since Telcoin's inception, and then bringing in these MNOs and stuff like that. It's just been one big case study to see like is it even popular? Will it
Hmm.
work? And is there a community behind it? So I think that that's one thing that they've probably taken a look at, and I think strengthens Telcoin's use case in the long.
Yeah. Oh, he muted out. I didn't know if he
Did we lose
finished
him?
his thought, but I also want to.
Did you mute
I
him?
didn't mute him. No, I would never mute
Okay.
OG Cody.
Oh,
Yeah, oh, there he is.
oh,
Yeah,
sorry, cut out. That's my fault. But yeah, basically, big use case. I think that they're paying attention to it, and obviously, it strengthens Telcoin in the long run.
Big time.
yeah,
Big time.
and some of us that have been around for a while, I still remember when they announced that they joined GSMA. Now, did I have the insight to know why? 4 years ago or however long ago that was when they did join that community and start to participate in those things. I know we all thought it was a big deal back then, right? Um, but now, I mean, how much sense does it make knowing where they're at now? D40 posting the
Yeah, I just saw
yeah,
that too. Yeah,
the
the
Facebook
Facebook
ad.
ad.
That's awesome. Well, hey,
Yeah, just to make sure people know I'm not just blowing smoke.
yeah, well, yeah. Who do you know at the government? No, I'm kidding.
Good question. That's a good question for Paul, and I think we'd be afraid of the answer. To be honest.
Yeah.
Well, I think we all know it's been pretty well documented that he's been to Washington, what, 4 or 5 times now?
Yeah,
Wasn't
Minimum?
his last product like mobile security?
it was.
Yep.
Yep. Yeah, you got it. I'm gonna. No offense. I'm gonna remove that post.
So operates.
What's up, Liberty?
I said Sedona, which he still runs.
Yeah.
Like that, he still runs that company.
Yeah, I can imagine he's a pretty busy guy. Okay, sorry I know we've been talking about this probably for like half an hour. It feels like just on the participation side of things, but last one, which I sent a tweet out or a post. I don't even know what it's called anymore with this Twitter X bullshit, but the merchant side of things too. So they have the ability to, get involved with the platform to accept fees in Telcoin, which, like, to me is bonkers, like amazing. So they can accept direct payments in the forms of either stable coins or digital assets, and then they can participate as stakers in the Telcoin platform to earn referral fees on top of that. So not only are they going to have the ability to accept either Telcoin or other digital assets in the form of payment, but they can also take that Telcoin that they've got from sales of either services or products, and then further stake that for more issuance on top of that, creating that feedback loop of passive income over and above what they're getting already.
Crazy. It's crazy how in depth like their arms.
It's all interconnected,
It really
man.
is.
It's
Yeah.
the web. The web just gets bigger,
So
and like you said, network ecosystem, however we want to describe it, it's
yeah,
like I said, the light at the end of the tunnel is the brightest I've ever seen it, and I don't even know if we're even in a tunnel anymore, if I'm being honest. But That's just
I'm
me.
still so
I
fast.
joked about selling my house
Yeah.
today to buy more. Just take my money,
I'm
take it
still
all.
just so fascinated of what is to come, right? On the banking side, on the legality side, from the government side, I should say, to add depth to what we're seeing today is just, I'm trying to wrap my head around what we're talking about tonight, let alone knowing that they're all working behind the scenes on much, much more,
Well, and that was part of it too. Like I remember seeing let me try to find it. There was something about like the banking side of things too that any oh, here it is in the Telcoin Association. Where am I here? The rationale. So the advantages. So how you talked like the legal structure versus like the regime list structure.
yeah.
Like they literally have a section here called banking. Incorporating formally empowers council members to open up a bank and other traditional financial services accounts in the name of the association.
Right. Right. Yeah, I read that
So
too.
like the Tel Bank is coming.
Yeah.
Yeah, I honestly think all of our minds are going to be effing blown, to be honest. The real important question is what kind of flooring are you going to use for your yacht? I'm thinking teak.
I'm not worried about the yacht. I'm worried about my castle.
Yeah.
Oh, nice, your manor. Nice, nice.
How many staff do I need?
Yeah, I made a post to some of my coworkers today. I sent them a chart, a Telcoin chart, and I said, "Hey, I'm probably going to be retiring in 20 to 24 months." And I said, but I said, "I'll miss you all, but I'm going to drown my sorrows in very good champagne, very good cocaine, and very good yacht fuel. So I'll be checking out."
Just Tony Montana.
That's right.
From
Yeah,
then on.
yeah. I'm gonna get a
Wolf of Wall
I'm gonna
Street,
get a yacht full of
drinking.
guns and cocaine and go enjoy myself.
Yeah, I just checked actually a few days ago. Gulfstream is taking pre-orders for
Yeah.
Jesus.
D40 just getting back in. He's like, we're in, we're going.
He's jacked up.
Yeah, my Lamborghini gets built in 3 weeks. I can't wait. I've been tracking it.
Yeah, yeah.
And they did take Amex just for those who are
Just the
wondering.
Amex, yeah.
There you go.
So what's next, Andrew? We are on.
I know. You tell me. I'm going back and forth. Like I said, I've been pinballing back and forth
Let me
around
get
this
to my
whole thing.
notes. So we went through the participation, what the platform consists of, GSMA developer LP.
You wanna maybe take a break and see if anybody
Yeah,
has any
that'd be a
questions,
good
or
idea. I'm sure there's some folks that
if there's anybody that wants to jump up and ask some
and
questions,
I
or
want to.
not even like even ask questions, but like even like give your opinion on the latest release and how things go. I see some pretty prominent people in here. I see Turtel, I see Foxy, we got Telcoinomics in
Yeah, I
here.
would love to. I would love for you guys not only to ask questions, but I know there's a lot of folks that went deep diving too. I think Josh bailed. I was going to ask him how we were doing, but I know he can't speak to any of the progress, but I think he can thumbs up our efforts. I think that's about as far as he goes. But
Yeah.
but yeah, if there's any questions or comments or takes that you've developed on what you've seen, please just raise your hand and let's get you up here and we'll chat through it.
Yeah, I'm not seeing any requests, so that fell on deaf
You,
ears. Is the mic on?
yeah, yeah.
Okay. All right, well, Steve, yeah, go through what else we got. I'm just looking through the docs. Like we kind of went through the association side of
Yeah.
things. Again, like we're not going too in depth. Like let's not go into the weeds. Like I know I sent some tweets out earlier today too, like diving a little bit further into everything. But I think for today, it's more just about understanding, higher level kind of stuff, just to make sure everybody's fully aware of what it is that they released and the monumentous drop of information that they put forward to the public. Because like even it was just funny, like from a price action perspective, like once like the announcement came out, it was just like price action didn't really do anything.
Yeah.
But like over the last week, 10 days, 2 weeks, you've seen like a steady climb. So I think, as people are diving more and more and more into the docs and understanding, the load of information that they've just fucking put out there. You know what? They're, like D40 said, like the bullishness when you go through that just increases exponentially,
Yeah.
right? And I think as people start doing a little bit more due diligence, they get more excited. And what happens when people get more excited? They drop more money in,
Yeah.
right?
Speaking of
So not only from the retail perspective, but like even if we start seeing institutional investments coming in and stuff like that, and we get a little bit more regulation going on in the U.S., like we can, start seeing that kind of stuff going on. But
yeah, and speaking of Telfam deep diving, I see crypto.
Loop,
Yeah, Loop, you're up. I know you had some pretty darn informational posts coming out. You did some threads on what you were seeing, especially on the governance side. So why don't you share your thoughts?
For sure. Yeah. I mean, sorry, can you guys hear me? Yeah.
Yep, we got you.
All right, sweet. Yeah, everything so far is looking really good. I pretty much just broke down in one of the threads that I had posted is just how the tel IP process will go for the first time around, and that's one thing I'm really curious about when that will be released. I think there's going to be a lot of criticism no matter what comes out of that because I'm that's going to kind of set the tone for how everything will be laid out from there on. And like I think that's one of the most critical things is kind of just how everything works out from there. As far as price action goes, everything's looking good, but I'm honestly not too worried about it just because right now the team of course is working on the test net, and I know
Hmm.
a lot of people have been asking what are the URLs as far as to the Explorer. And I used to have it, but honestly, I've lost it in the mix with everything else I've been looking into. But so far, I mean, everything looks really bright, and I'm hoping that maybe they can do an AMA as to what the plans are for the first tel IP. And then the other thing is, I'm curious about how they're going to tag the MNOs that become validators as well. That's the other thing that I'm not sure on, but if you guys have any answers to that, that would
I
be cool.
think we're all on the edge of our seats waiting to figure out who those first validators are, right? The first
Yeah.
GSMA participants. So,
Yep.
um, I do they have the 10 that is going to be required for the first go around already and on tap? I don't know,
Right.
but I was just
well, keep in mind we have a roadmap for the Telcoin network too,
yeah.
right? Like it's essentially based on a roadmap. It's not going to be officially launched until what is it, Q3 of next
Yeah.
year.
Yeah. Yep.
But
Oh yeah.
but Loop, I'd be curious to hear like what are your, like you mentioned, like kind of like concerns kind of on like the first proposal and it being kind of controversial. Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah. So, um, as far as distribution goes, I think that's the biggest thing. That the tel IP one will go into is just how things will be distributed.
In terms of like governance, or like what do you mean by
So
that?
how much of the total supply will be held by? I believe it's the MNOs, or maybe just overall, because we have circulating supply right now, which is at like 72.5 billion. And I know a lot of people have backlash on that as far as, well, we thought that it was going to be 50 billion, and that's obviously not what's happened. And like, I get that. I know a lot of people want clarity on that, and I think that's what the tel IP one will bring, aside from a lot of other solutions. And like, I don't have any bitterness as far as half of it not being reserved. I think a lot of people saw that coming, and I think that's something that you just kind of got to go with the flow on. But it's going to be, I think it's going to go into depth as far as how distribution is set forth. Let me go into a couple of things real quick. 1 second.
Hmm. Yeah, so Andrew, I agree with Loop. There's always grumblings on tokenomics, right? When things don't line up with what
Yeah,
is
I'm just looking at
proposed.
it
Yeah.
now. We've based on like the Telex network about documents, we've got 50% of the issuance is going to be for user activity and validator issuance, which
Yeah.
obviously is essentially the GSMA member network mobile operators
Yep.
and whatnot. You've got 20% for developer issuance,
Right.
15 for Telex, 10 for user acquisition and education. I think which that is not as clearly defined, and then obviously 5% for the founders, which is pretty straightforward. But
Right.
um,
So I found the part.
yeah, go ahead, go ahead.
So as far as how much the Telcoin treasury or Tel treasury will have, I think that's the big part.
Mm.
Since that's more of like a reserve space, that's just kind of saved away.
Yeah, from what I've read about that though, Luke, like they've got the first 3 years once the network is established. They've got those like for the TAN, for Telex, and all the different networks. They've got that already established for the first 3 years. After that, I think is where like things get a little bit more complex,
Yeah.
and it's an understanding of through the Telcoin network, what is being burned, but it's being burned and then, regenerated in the treasury, at a rate of 1 to 1. So
Yep.
like the full supply is still going to be 100 billion, overall. And then I think essentially what is going to happen is you're going to have the Treasury Council determine with the voting power or say of the different miners, which is obviously the validators, the developers, the stakers, and the liquidity miners, determining how that gets put out. I just don't know what the frequency of like that is, if it's on like a quarterly basis, annualized basis.
Yeah.
But
Yep.
I think right now the way that they have it set up, it's like for year one, it's essentially almost 200 million tel that is going to be issued out per year for each of those different groups to be harvested amongst the different participants in those groups.
Right. Yeah.
But you,
Um. Go
Luke,
ahead.
before you go on, I just want to make sure, Andrew, you skipped over a critical point here, and I think everybody, I'm sure some of us already know, but when we talk about the TEL issuance and then the regeneration, right? So not only does that mean that it's a 1-for-1, but it also means that 100 billion is the cap, that there's never going to be needing, they never going to need add more tokens to the cap.
True,
Yeah.
true. It's again, we haven't really dove into this because there's so much to dive into.
Right.
Right.
But yeah,
Yeah.
like essentially, it's a self-sustaining,
Yeah.
ecosystem that they've developed,
Yeah.
right? And depending on the activity within the network, obviously, if there's a higher level of activity, there's going to be a higher level of burn. There's going to be a higher level of regeneration, which is going to result in potentially a higher level of allocation or issuance of TEL to those different groups, right? But if there's a lower level of activity, like there's going to be a lower level of tokens that can be issued in the future. But so it's all dependent on the amount of volume and participation that is going to be happening through the Telcoin network, where you're going to see that reissuance of those burnt tokens going back into the system. So like I think that's why you see like that sustainability over the long term happening.
Yeah.
And if you can get more or less of those 667 MNOs participating, and that's a pretty big percentage of the volume that I would say that is going to be associated to the Telcoin network. Like that's where the juice of it is. But
Right.
And doesn't that mean, in layman terms, like that most of these, as the network grows, the circulating supply is going to get smaller and smaller?
Yeah. So the way I view it is the treasury is technically the non-circulating supply, and then the rest of it is the circulating supply, whether if it's held under an MNO or just retail, such as you and I.
Yeah. Could.
well, keep in mind, like circulating supply also consists of TEL tokens that are not staked.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
anything that is staked, in my opinion, would also be
Out
out
of
of circulating
circulation. Yeah,
supply,
that's true.
Gotcha.
right? So like that's why like I think too, like once MNOs get involved and like they're like fighting to put blocks to the Telcoin network blockchain, because that's how they get paid, is if they put a block to that, network every 6 seconds, based on the documentation that we've read. Um, they're going to get the incentive associated to attaching that block to the blockchain on top of the gas fees that they get. Right. So there's going to be an incentive for them to continue to acquire more tokens, to continue to increase their level of stake, to then increase their level of securing each block to the blockchain, to then increase their percentage of getting those rewards. And then that creates that huge feedback loop, right? So, like, down the road, like, the circulating supply that is going to be available to retail, I think is going to be very low. Can I estimate a number? I have no idea, but you know what? I think based on the 100 billion, it's going to be a lot lower than that in terms of what we actually have in terms of circulating supply of Telcoin in the market.
Right, which everything you're saying is what's going to drive scarcity, right?
Well, it's standard supply and demand
Correct.
economics,
Right.
Demand is high and supply is low. Well, price is going to go up, way up.
Yep.
Luke, go ahead.
Actively right now, I'm just curious. It's just a general question. So, the way contracts are set up, are they set up right now to where if I'm staking as a retail, that it does take it out of the supply and it shows it? Or is it right now set up to where it's technically still in the supply, but it is also staked via the contract?
I would assume at this point it is still considered in circulating supply, but
yeah.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure.
Hey,
But again, like it's going to be hard to also determine what is the circulating supply on an ongoing basis.
Yep, that's
Like unless like you can like dissect it from the Telcoin actual network and what is staked. Like right now, I can't remember the number, but it was trying to think of the number. Was it 1.5 billion that was staked when Refer and Stake came out? Something like
I
that.
think
So
you're
like
right.
even
Yeah,
if 2%,
close.
Yeah, it's a lot.
if even if at 2% is just through the Stake and Refer app, okay, well there's 2 billion of the 100. Okay, well 2% of the circulating supply or total supply is technically now off the market. Then factor in the MNOs, then factor in the developers, then factor in the liquidity miners, then factor in the merchants and all this kind of stuff,
Yep.
right? So it's accumulating on top of this, on top of that, on top of this, on top of that. Like, and that's why my thought is that down the road, like the actual circulating supply is going to be a lot smaller than what we actually see right now as the total supply.
Yeah.
Didn't you find a burn wallet in all of this documents as well?
Sorry, say it again, Liberty.
Did you find like a burn wallet or something? I thought you mentioned this the other day. You found like a burn wallet associated with all of this as well.
I'm not the expert on like the Polygon scan or like anything like that, so I don't remember saying anything like that.
I thought somebody said the other day in one of
we
chats that's
we talked about the burn activity being available to anybody out of the mining groups, right? So anybody can.
that was really voluntary, right?
They're completely
Like
voluntary. That's right. Yeah.
Okay.
Why would they do that? I'm not sure, but yes, the burning.
Let me. I'll try to find, because I was talking to Parker about this specifically. I'll try to find the conversation that we had about this burning, but continue on while I look for it.
Yeah, so I don't know why, but that mechanism is built in. There is a burn wallet. They'll allow burning from any participating miner in the network. So
So I found it. So it says he sent me some examples. So from like a private perspective, a privately owned app could send a portion of its fees to the burn contract, tying sustainability to usage of their app and aligning its success with the broader Telcoin community. From a public perspective, one could create on-chain public good for a DeFi protocol where a portion of all fees are sent to the burn contract to align its usage with the broader Tel community.
clear as mud.
So somebody explain that to me like I'm 6.
Well, I was going to say, I can totally tell who wrote all this documentation, right? Just based on that conversation.
One of the smartest guys I think I've ever interacted with, for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, mad props to Parker, man. I mean, I know this was his baby, and he's been working on it for years, and I don't know if we've said that enough tonight. Um, I'm sure he's had assistance through the amount of time it took to get this out, but I mean, just the overall structure, legalities, the definitions, the interoperability to each one of the host platforms. I mean, it's just it's bananas.
Yeah. So I know we went off on a very large tangent there for probably a good 20 minutes, but Loop, I don't think we even really talked about like the thread on the governance side of things. So if you do you want to continue, and I will promise I will stop
No,
interrupting
you're
you.
good. It's all good, man. No, as far as the governance, I thought it was interesting. The biggest thing as far as like the thread that stood out to me is, of course, like both of them have to come to 100% quorum. The first one is, of course, the platform council, and that's within 5 days. And then we have the Treasury Council, which is within, I think, 48 hours. And then at the same time, both of those have to be 100%. So, and then I remember earlier we mentioned, or it was mentioned that there's like kind of a mediation piece the
Yep.
if there's not a quorum of 100% where we could work everything out.
Yeah, I think depending on which stage you're at, because obviously the platform council and the treasury council are like the de facto kind of go-tos.
Yep.
So I think they have governing rules if some of the lower level councils need, let's call it arbitration.
Yep.
But I think they even mentioned that if the treasury or the platform council need arbitration, they can go through the actual Swiss law side of it to kind of get that figured out
Gotcha.
and sorted out.
Okay, that's sweet.
Which again, like, is just mind blowing that they've thought to that detail to involve,
Yeah.
government perspectives on, situations and issues that they cannot resolve within the ecosystem.
Yeah, once I saw all of that like legality verbiage on the Telcoin Association homepage, I was like, okay, yeah, so they definitely thought out the legalities. And it makes sense as far as who they're partners with. They have that, it's like Dvorak or something like that as a law firm that they partnered with.
Oh, in Nebraska. Yep.
Yep, down in Nebraska to figure all that out. But yeah, I mean, everything seems to be aligning really well, and I mean, obviously, I'm really excited for that roadmap to understand further as far as like how everything's gonna operate. Um, but yeah, also the clarity aspect as far as tel IP. That's for me. That's the biggest thing I'm looking forward to. I feel like it'll give a lot of people clarity as far as tokenomics. If it hasn't already been cleared up to an extent already.
Well, I mean, you've raised some valid questions when it comes to the tokenomics, right? And
Yeah.
um, I, I, I don't know if there's 100% clarification because unfortunately, we don't know the actors that are already participating, maybe in that test net, right? And what did it take is there MNOs participating that are not visual or visible, and so one of the cryptic messages we saw in Discord from Paul specifically, he said, we're going to release something that explains a lot of these questions, and for the most part, I will say it did. Like, why the secrecy? Why did it take so long? We kind of get that aspect, but there was also a lot of questions about tokenomics, and I don't think any of this really addressed that yet.
Yeah.
So I still think there's another piece that needs to be made public to maybe clarify that even further. But I just don't know if we know right now.
Heck yeah. But I'm looking forward to it. I mean, it makes sense that once everything's released, they'll even have an AMA possibly after.
Yeah.
Just to clarify as far as Parker, and maybe we can see Paul and Josh and everyone else on there with the whole crew.
Where'd Foxy go? He had his.
I was just gonna say, yeah, where'd Foxy go? But
he dipped out.
just to let you know, Loop, we are working and trying to lock Parker down if we can, to do some level, if not multiple AMAs,
Yeah.
on everything going on with the association.
I didn't say it. I'm not taking the blame. Andrew said it.
Yeah, let's go.
That'd be sweet. Hell yeah.
If you're 2.25 hours into the spaces, yeah, let's go.
Yeah. And Andrew's had
yeah.
enough beers to be able to start dropping some stuff we're working on already.
The whiskey bottle is about half empty, so I'm feeling good.
Yeah.
But like honestly though, like I think like the team needs to do some level of AMA or videos or whatever to clearly define and explain what's going on.
Well, it'd be wildly educational to hear it from the horse's mouth. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
Well, let's hear it from the master and not from the dummies.
yeah, yeah, the dummies trying to read Braille, right?
Yeah, and I'm talking about myself there. So.
Yeah. Yeah, me too. By the way, I'm not calling anybody out. It's just me and Andrew. We're the dummies.
Well, like I said, I'm a dummy sitting in my basement drinking whiskey, talking about cryptocurrency. So
yeah.
Oh yeah.
But what I would not want to be anywhere else. So I'm comfortable with that.
I'm happy being here too, buddy.
Yeah.
The one thing I was going to bring up too, when we talk about like governance, I tweeted about it today. Just like the fact that like in order to push a proposal forward, you need to have at least 2% of like that group staking. In order to push something forward.
Yeah, it's big.
So like
Andrew and I talked about this earlier, man. It's a big piece of protecting the interests, right?
It sets the tone that if you want to have a say in this platform, in this network, in this ecosystem, you've got to have some skin in the game.
Mm-hmm.
And, we're not going to get, dummy proposals from, crypto bums or whoever, Brads and Chads or whatnot, right? Just saying, oh, I want this, I want that. Well, what if we did this? What if we did that? Without even probably reading the docs, right? So, like from that perspective, like you've got to have skin in the game to understand what's going on, to put proposals forward. And then on top of that, to get a proposal like pushed forward, you need to have an 80% approval rate through a minimum of 20% of the people or the stake involved in that group voting, right? So they've set like a pretty high level, I would say, in terms of passing proposals and pushing them forward, which I think is a good thing because you need to make sure that it makes sense, it's coming from a good place, and it has, the forward thinking that you need to have in order to put proposals forward.
Best interest of the community.
For sure, yeah, exactly. Well, it's essentially coming from the community at that point.
Right, but you'll have rogue agents around trying to fuck with people. But this is a great way to stop all of that.
I would agree. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, like Andrew said, I mean, you have to have a decent portion of skin in the game in order to try to demand something change. And that keeping nefarious actors or just I don't want to call them complainers or but yeah, I mean it's just you have to make sure that they have the best interest of the ecosystem at heart when they propose something. So I think it's a huge piece of protection.
Heck yeah. Have you guys gone over just like the Discord group layout as far as what's to come?
I have not. No.
No. I think that'll also set like a lot better of a precedent to as far as like barrier to communication. I feel like there's going to be a lot more transparency once that Discord group, of course, is up and running, and then you've got all the council groups as well that you can view and see what's going on as far as activity.
That's what I assumed was going to happen when it came to the Discord. I
Yeah.
saw snippets of it, but the fact that the councils are involved and have to take action, right, and participate is going to be a huge win for community communication.
Yeah, I think that's one of the other things that I'm looking forward to, because what I think we'll see is a lot less of people going toward the actual Telcoin uh, Discord that's not really meant for, I guess, speculation or anything else. And you'll see a lot more attention go toward that new group where it's not really like for speculation, but it's for people to understand what's going on behind the scenes a little bit better.
And it's also broken down by council too, right? So
Yeah.
that whether it's just a candid conversation or questions or answers or whatever that is, it can be directly pointed towards the appropriate people that are not experts, but sit on the boards of these groups that can properly answer what they're looking for. So.
Yeah.
I was just going to say, you said not experts, but I would hope the people that are appointed to those councils are at least experts in those fields.
Well,
But
okay, that's fair. Yeah.
maybe that's an American thing. I don't know if
Yeah.
it's like the America, like Canada, like
Well,
difference. But
so when you say experts, right? Expert is alluding to it's the batter that hits 500 in the major leagues, right? So
if a batter is hitting 500, like I'm pretty sure you take him, Steve. Come
well,
on.
well, no, that's what I'm saying. I mean, not everybody's going to hit 500, so I'm leaving a little bit of leeway for not so much experts, but at least helpful people. How about that?
Yeah, fair enough.
As somebody who doesn't use Discord a lot, I was a little bummed that they went to Discord for their official announcements and everything.
Yeah.
But seeing this release, it's like, I mean, there's no other better place to do it than Discord.
Yep.
You have to, because like Telegram was not an avenue to break things up into different sections, right, and have different conversations about telex or this or that, or suggestions or bugs or this that, or it would all be in one place.
Yeah.
So it totally makes sense in terms of like the evolution of the ecosystem to have it a little bit more organized on a platform, like Discord, to have that available. So
Where are we at? We're pushing 2.5, and I feel like we've only gotten through half of this.
I don't think we've really like talked about like half of the stuff that I was tweeting about today, but again, like I said, I think the point of tonight was to really understand things from a higher level perspective, and then we can do separate kind of spaces, hopefully with some members of the team, and dive into the weeds a little bit more about the specifics of how everything is going to work and operate and all that kind of stuff. Like I was just as another talking point, like I was looking at just like the block size, the frequency, and all that kind of stuff too. um, and what they have the bandwidth already at this point to accommodate for 5,000 transactions per second,
Yeah.
which if you do the quick math, that's 432 million transactions per day.
Yeah.
Per day.
Per day. Yeah.
Right. And you have institutions, legacy institutions like PayPal. I was going back and forth with somebody on Twitter about it. I think it was yesterday. And they're like, yeah, PayPal does 40, 50 million transactions per day. So like they've already thought about what legacy institutions are doing, um, to try to match. Like I'm not sure what Visa and Mastercard are doing on a per minute per second basis. The number 24,000 comes to mind, but I don't know what that's relative to. But
Mm-hmm.
still, 432 million transactions per day.
Right.
Like that's like the bandwidth of the capacity of what the Telcoin network can accommodate at this point. Like that's not saying that it can't accommodate further down the road, with different implementations and stuff like that. But like that's aggressive.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
even if we get close to that number, like the tel that is going to be burned and regenerated into the treasury to then be redistributed to, the harvesting agents and the miner groups, like, is just going to be wild.
yeah. Yeah, looking at the diagram that I downloaded and put up on my screen, I mean, I'm just looking through it, and obviously we've talked about the governance system at quite a bit of length. We've talked about the miners, right? We've talked about users and validators. We've talked about, well, we're all kind of familiar through past spaces and talking about telex, and we've been there's active participants, and we have the telex community live website. We've talked about the tin network a little bit. We've talked about the treasury a little bit, and we've talked about the Telcoin network. I think um, those are the things that really need to be um, talked about. But then when I look at the tree of information that they provided on the Telcoin network specifically, it's huge, right, Andrew? I think we both kind of hit our tapping out points when we started going through the network itself and the explanations of the infrastructure, the size of resources, the predictability and system dynamics and all this stuff, right? I mean, it's a deep dive into the actual functionality of the actual platform itself. So I don't know how much we want to get into that, if we can do it at a high level, or if we even if we want to dive into it tonight.
I'm up for whatever you want to do, man. I can barely spell telex, but
Yeah.
whatever you want to get into, man.
Right. So anyway, I don't know. I mean, we can talk to it as a high level, right? So it's an EVM compatible, public
Oh,
blockchain.
actually, sorry
Yeah.
to interrupt, Steve, but yeah, this is a really good point to bring on from like a high level, because we didn't even touch base about this, about the difference of like the blockchains. But yeah. Go
Then
go
yeah,
do
and
your
that's
spiel,
that's
man.
that's what I mean. And I was just going to read this
Yeah.
verbatim.
Go.
Uh,
Sorry, before I let you go,
yeah.
Liberty, I tried reaching out to you because I know you want to do the giveaway, and you wanted a 30-minute warning. Here's your warning, at least.
Yeah, I have been doing it actually. I've had to pick like 5 different people because either they didn't follow the rules or are no longer in spaces.
Oh,
Foxy was going to be the last one who was in it, but he's not here anymore. But there's only like 12 people who retweeted it. But Andrew, you actually won it.
I'd put it back into the pool. I can't accept that.
Put it back in the pool.
Yeah, as much as I want it, if you
Then
want to
hold on
send
a
me
second.
the Paul Nooner underpants as my Christmas gift, I'll take that. But nah, I feel like I can't accept that.
Pete in the pocket. Pete in the pocket.
Pete in the pocket.
Pete in the pocket. You won.
Still here? Oh.
Yeah, he's still here.
Yeah.
Pete in the pocket.
Still here. All right.
Sweet. Hey, Pete, DM me. DM the Liberty lad. This one. And I'll get you taken care of.
The one that I'm speaking from, this account.
Hey, is John?
Shoot me a DM, dude, and we'll get you taken care of.
Is John in here? I know he wanted to give away some shot
He
glasses
is.
too.
Yeah,
Okay, yeah.
He's still in here too.
Right on.
Yeah, I don't know how we want to do the shot glasses. I'll reach out to him while you go into the deep dive of the EVM stuff.
Yeah, so I don't know about a deep dive, but basically what I wanted to do is just
Steve, I need you to take 20 minutes to really dive.
Well, I was hoping Foxy was going to come in here and do that. I know he I didn't think I had to. So listen, I'm lacking on the EVM.
Before you get into it, John came up, so we'll.
Oh, good.
We'll
okay.
John.
Give him time to Google some shit.
How you doing? How you doing, guys?
Doing good, buddy. You?
Good, man. It's been an awesome week, hasn't it? Just amazing.
Oh, great week.
Everything going on. It's like, wow. Yeah.
Amazing.
Pretty awesome. So I hope you guys enjoyed my funny videos that I keep putting out there and all the different things.
Oh man,
Every time I see Steve, singing that song, I laugh every time. So keep doing it.
yeah, that's good. The jump around stuff.
So we got some good stuff this week. We got those shot glasses. So my buddy was able to create them for us. We got them taken care of. So I put a post out there. So for the winners, they're out there. Just take a look at that. And yeah, hope you guys enjoy them. Just DM me.
You got the names of the winners, John?
Yeah, they're on the post there.
Oh, okay,
Okay.
gotcha.
We'll make sure. I haven't really been following Twitter, X, whatever, since we've started. But okay, we'll make sure we send it far and wide to make sure everybody reaches back out to you to accept those giveaways. And
Awesome.
and always, John, appreciate the support, man.
Yeah,
You
of
bet,
course.
guys.
Love it.
So
Um,
thanks for everything.
I got my 4 coins sitting here looking at me. My my Telex, my Telcoin, my DFX, and my astronaut Tel guy looking at me right now.
Oh, sweet. Put a post out there. That'd be cool.
I'll do that. And I know, Steve, you still owe me one.
Oh, you
by the
won
way.
what?
The Telcoin World one that you said
Oh,
you couldn't send to me because I'm in Canada.
yeah,
You
I'm not.
geographic person.
Yeah, that's
I don't even know.
yeah. No, I'll give it. I'll give it to you in person.
Geographist.
I'll give it to you in person when you're here in Florida. By the way, guys, our next
2 more weeks.
spaces,
That's right.
our next spaces might be live and in person with Andrew and I sitting across the table from each other enjoying some beers. So we'll see if we can.
This might be very true.
Yeah,
if we can actually coordinate that, man. Honestly, not gonna lie, like I would love to do that.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. So
if we can do it, get the video out and do that kind of stuff, and that'd be amazing.
Yeah, we're working on it, guys. At least the trip is planned, right? So there's no turning back on that. So we'll see if we can get something together.
Exactly.
So yeah, let's jump into just the overall
EVM.
EVM. Yeah, the Telcoin network is an EVM compatible public blockchain secured by the GSMA operator member mobile network operators. I know it's a lot of words, but basically a GSMA mobile network operators, MNOs, globally using proof of stake consensus, right? So, and to be honest, I didn't know what an EVM was until we started looking into this documentation. I still don't think I know what it is, but what it
Hey,
stands.
Steve, what's a Swiss Varein?
What's that?
I said, what's a Swiss Varein?
I don't know that either. So
I still don't know.
Like I know the legal structure it carries, but I don't know where it started from. But
I gotta stop interrupting. Oh, the whiskey one.
yeah, no, it's fine. It's fine. But so the EVM, basically what it stands for is Ethereum Virtual Machine, right? So it's basically what that means is Telcoin's running its own sidechain, if I'm reading that correctly, right, Andrew?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I thought. So I just need some consensus there. But so developers can you also use the EVMs to execute and deploy smart contracts on the Ethereum network. So Ethereum network, still using Polygon, but so the system serves as underlying blockchain architecture, securing private property rights over digital assets and enabling on-chain protocols and applications such as Telex. Right, so here we go with the interoperability and bouncing from platform to platform and how it's all interconnected. So I don't know if we want to dive into like the detail of what they put on their website is absolutely insane, right? But there is another diagram. Like I said, if you're a visual person, they're extremely helpful, especially for guys like me that hates a bunch of words, and that's what they put out. But so the Telcoin network sits at the center of all the inputs and outputs, right? So you have your users that's transacting until gas fees are going through the network. You have your validators on the outside. They're pulling gas fees and issuance and staking TEL and producing blocks. Then the platform and treasury council, they're providing the improvements to the Telcoin network, and they're also defining the rules and electing and participating and interacting with the validators. So you have governance over the validators. So I mean, it's such a wide breadth of operational intermingling. I would encourage you guys to go out there and see it as well. But that's where the Telcoin network's participating with the Tel Treasury as well, with the regeneration of Tel and issuing it back to the network through Tel Safes and back to the network again. I mean, the regulation. Um, it's a lot, guys, and I don't know if we want to dive even deeper into this, but they have thought through this entire flow as to how it works, and it's well done.
Flood, even, no pun intended.
Yeah, yeah, that's right.
But
No, yeah,
yeah, the big thing I think I'm taking from this is just the portion of the interoperability.
yeah,
You have that ability to work with different layers through ERC20 or whatever, right? Like the Ethereum blockchain.
yeah,
Like the way that I'm seeing it is like everything is going to flow through the Telcoin network, but like to execute, like as an example, a swap on the Telcoin network through like just a regular, staker doing a swap in app. It's going to go through the Telcoin network, which is going to connect to the Polygon network to, officiate the swap through Telex or, Balancer or DFX or QuickSwap to then go back to the Telcoin network and execute, that transaction. If down the road there are other layers that are connected through the developer side of things, which is incentivized through the TAN Council
hmm,
to build out other ecosystems on different layers, it's all going to be interconnected,
yeah,
which brings into this whole aspect of like Chainlink right now, which is doing the CCIP, which is connecting all of the different layers too, right? So like again, we talk about forward thinking, we talk about like it's just everything interconnected. Like it's ridiculous to the level of thought that went into these documents and into this infrastructure, into this ecosystem before they actually put it out. You know, um, like it's astounding to think that down the road they built a system that can technically connect to anything that comes down the road, even if there's something that in the future that we don't even can't even fathom right now, right? Like they through this EVN system and CCIP with Chainlink and all this kind of stuff, they're going to have that interoperability to connect it to that network, right? Like just the infrastructure that is built and the flexibility that they've afforded themselves, not only in the past, in the current, and in the future. Like it's just ridiculous to think that they've thought of all of this um, in the last 3 years
yeah,
to put it all together in a forward thinking motion that they can tackle any situation, any issue, any new innovation that comes into the crypto sphere and connect it to the Telcoin network. Like that is huge, man. It's
yeah,
huge.
yeah. And um, I want to say, like, when you first buy into a project, right? I know a lot of us have talked about, hey, oh, we read the white paper, we deep dove, we saw the path forward with whether it was just the remittances that turned you on and like, oh my God, that's an actual business case that makes sense, the fintech, transferring monies, between countries. That made sense to me back then, but now you look at it and you're like, holy shit, I'm holding so many, whatever your wallet is containing of actual gas for this entire network, right? This is the gas token of this ecosystem now, right? We're not just holding Telcoin anymore. We're holding the gas that's going to empower this entire network. And to me, that's these little nuances like that blow my mind when I really think about what they're actually building. So, but I do want to mention, I know I made I don't know, it was a post on X about a bull shark, and I would encourage anybody to go out and look at the
If you
Telcoin
bring up
network.
the dag bull shark and can't explain it, don't even fucking do it.
No, it is a consensus mechanism. I found that out, right? So I I tried to do my due diligence because I put it on. I
We
thought it
did
was
we did have a good laugh about that. Was it last night or the night
yeah,
before?
yeah, it was a couple nights, yeah. So, but yeah, they've thought through everything, through the components of the infrastructure. Like I said, the gas tokens, the consensus mechanisms, the EVM, which is the execute the transaction data, the bridges, what is it, the immutable distributed ledgers, the storage, the extraction, and even the destruction and regeneration facilities, right? So in one of their pages, they talk specifically about the burn mechanism, right? And I'll read it verbatim. The TEL burn mechanism transfers a percentage of gas fees contained in each block to a burn contract where any TEL sent to that address are destroyed and replenished in equal quantity to the TEL treasury, right? And I know there's people that did way deeper dives on that burn mechanism than and I hope one of them's in here, or Andrew, if you did, that could speak to what that really means for the longevity of the platform.
Yeah, essentially it's the sustainability of the the harvesting issuance that is distributed to the different miner groups, right? So there right now I think they have a certain allotment of TEL tokens that they can provide to these different groups, minor groups, in terms of incentives, if that's an easier term for most people to understand. Um, to participate in those different groups, right? Whether it's on the validation side, the liquidity, the staking, the developing side, right? So they've already set out a certain amount of tokens for the first 3 years of issuance, for these different groups. And through the burning mechanism, what that's going to do is replenish um, that let's call it treasure chest of tokens that they can use to then further incentivize and distribute amongst those different miner groups, right? So after say the essential 3 years, that's been already allocated and determined. Year four, okay, well, in the treasury, based off of the last 3 years of burning, we have, X amount of TEL tokens. Okay, well, we want a long sustaining, product that, we need to focus more on liquidity mining. We need to get, what the goal right now, the main goal is to increase TVL, right? Okay, well, how do you increase TVL? Okay, well, we need to incentivize more on the TELX, the liquidity mining side, to incentivize people to provide more liquidity to increase TVL. And maybe, in year four, that is the initial goal. Maybe year five is okay, well, we're seeing that, MNOs, we need to get more adoption from them. Okay, well, then, okay, the main goal from the treasury is to provide more issuance and more harvesting TEL, again, more incentives to those MNOs, right? So whether it's on a yearly, quarterly, biannual, whatever the frequency and the cadence is, every time that they have that discussion, that conversation about where we need to allocate um, that treasury, it's going to be coming from that council, and essentially as the network, the ecosystem, the web of everything grows, the more funds or TEL is going to be associated to that treasury to then be redispersed to those different groups. So it just creates that sustainability, that feedback loop where you know everything's coming in. We need to understand where's the focus, where are we putting it towards, where's it going, and then incentivize, those groups based off of, the communication and, those different councils putting forth, their proposals to understand, where's the need to further, the Telcoin platform, the Telcoin network, the Telcoin association. So it's, I honestly, like, I think it's a brilliant mechanism to continue that sustained growth. It's more of like, okay, let's see what we have in terms of reserves or in the treasury, and how do we take what we have in the reserves in the treasury to grow and expand this platform, this association, to its maximal point. And that's going to continue to evolve and change over time, depending on, the different needs of the different councils. And as we've seen through the different councils and the different participants and representatives in those councils, you're going to have voices from each of those different minor groups. And like Luke mentioned, we need to have, either 100% consensus, 80% consensus, before something gets pushed forward, right? So there's going to be debates, there's going to be conversations, there's going to be pros and cons, there's going to be this, that going forward, right? And everybody's going to push to get, their fair share of that issuance, that treasury, um, and you know what? At the end of the day, they're going to come to the best decision that pushes the Telcoin network, the Telcoin association, the Telcoin platform forward to more people to generate more, so that the next time, they have that conversation, they have more funds available to them to disperse and to continue. And then it's just, again, that feedback loop of, okay, well, we have this, how do we enhance? Okay, well, we did this last time and it resulted in this. Okay, well, maybe this worked well, this didn't work well. Okay, well, let's build on that. And then it's, again, enhancing and evolving and going forward from that, right? So
Yeah, and
um
I would say that those debates and arguments and everything about is exactly what we want to make sure that the platform is moving forward. Not
well,
with
and
a
keep in
with,
mind too, like the conversations that are going to be had too are from uh those are going to be conversations that are had between members that are essentially voted to those positions
correct.
by the community,
Yep,
right? So you're not going to get voted into that role unless you have the best interest of that group at heart,
correct.
right? So it's, you want to call it government, governance, whatever. But again, it's for the people, by the people. And that's how it's going to continue to go on and go forward into, the next 5 years, the next 10 years, the next 20 years, whatever, how long this goes on for. But like the way that they've put this together, again, in my head, is amazing. It's astronomical, the amount of organization, the thought that went into this. Um, and now that it's been released, I can totally understand that it took so long to get this together, because it's so complex to that level. But to another degree, though, like, it's
Yeah,
simplistic in a way where you've got, different governing bodies doing different things, again, pushing for different incentives to help their people, right?
well,
Like, so
I
there's
would,
there's complexity but simplicity in it as well.
yeah, I would caution people that obviously there's always going to be the naysayers, right? And they say, oh, you're just slappies, you're just heavily invested, or there's a reason, or whatever we're doing this for. And I mean, we stayed positive through an entire fucking bear market, right? And yeah, maybe you can call us slappies then, but now that this stuff has been released and you go through it and you're like, holy shit, this is so. Were we holding on for hope? Yes, yes, we were. We didn't know what was coming. We didn't. We didn't. We would get tidbits here and there, or and finally when it came out, and we're able to digest this stuff. And what you just said so eloquently is like it's so complex but so simple at the same time. Depending on what part of the ecosystem that you're going to use, right? I mean, so we're looking at it from a consumer's point, right? Retail point. Imagine what the developers and what the MNOs are staring at, and what Telcoin's offering them as far as, hey, we have this entire governance system where we're going to protect you. We're going to protect you legally. We're gonna incentivize you to get your customers to use our platform. We're going to incentivize developers to plug your app into our block, our network, and so as big as we think it is, I can't imagine what an MNO is looking at here and saying, "Holy
Well,
shit, I could take this. How can I take advantage of this?"
and to your point too, like it's not even like the incentivization of like the short or even midterm. It's like the long
Yeah.
term incentivization of it, right? And that's like the beauty of like that burn and regenerate, to the Tel treasury. Um, it's self sustaining. It's going to continue as long as the rewards, the incentives, is lower than what is being burned and regenerated.
Hmm.
Things are going to be okay.
Yep.
And you know
But if
what?
they're
Even to
not,
the
if they're
con.
not, they
But even
put the
if they're not,
tools in place to fix it,
you can
right?
adjust. You
Right.
can course correct and adjust.
Right.
And exactly, like if in year 1, year 2, year 3, whatever, you have 2 billion tel to redistribute. Okay, you know what? Figure out how to divide and conquer, and
Hmm.
what's the best way to divide it amongst the 4 groups, to maximize the adoption of the Telcoin platform. And then in year 3, maybe it's 3 million or 3 billion, and the next year maybe it's 1.5, and we go through a bear market and things get a little bit tougher.
Hmm.
But you have that ability to adjust, not necessarily on the fly, depending on how often they're going to meet and adjust these numbers. Um, but even if it's on an annualized basis, you take the information and the data that is given to you, and you put forth the best strategy and decision that you think is possible for the next 12 months.
Yeah.
And then you assess, review, analyze, what you did, how things went. And as the years and the decades go on, you get better at, predicting what's going to happen and analyze and how to do that, right?
I gotta say, man, like after this release, between community update 11 and then this not too long after, I haven't seen a whole lot of the known boo birds, right? I haven't seen a lot of negative posts. I haven't seen a lot of people um, having the ability to shit talk. Uh,
In
you
the
know,
last 2 weeks, it's gone real quiet.
it's gone real quiet, right? And we all know who they are. And I don't discourage them from posting. Like everybody feels their frustrations. I've said that through the entire bear market. Yeah,
It's encouraged to bring those frustrations
yeah,
to the
yeah,
to the
let's
fore.
talk about it. I'm not that I'm going to solve your bad attitude or I want to, but I mean, let's at least talk about what you're pissed off about, whether it's impatience or something
And
technical
understand it.
or
Yeah.
and understand it and try to help, right? I mean, we're all in this together. We're all risk takers and hoping the best of the community that we're involved with. So, but in the last 2 weeks and it's mad quiet, man, and I'm enjoying it a little bit, I gotta say. But
I would agree. I would say the sentiment has flipped. The resistance of the negativity has turned into support, in my opinion.
correct, yeah, yeah,
And and like I said, like this, as as much as like we haven't seen like when the release actually happened in terms of price action, like this is the biggest announcement that they have ever dropped. And honestly, I don't even know if there's going to be a bigger one. Like there might be, and
uh,
I'll be happy for it. But
yeah.
I don't even know. Like just from like the context and like
Well, again,
the, the network effect of what they've dropped. I don't even know if they can drop anything bigger.
well,
Like
I think
the
so. I think, well, let me challenge you a little bit right there. They've dropped the infrastructure for success. Now they have to drop the partnerships to feed that infrastructure, right? So I think
yeah, but
yes, they can. But
I
the
would agree,
yeah,
but I would assume, and for me, a lot of that is implied.
I agree.
If
I get your point, right? I'm saying like, why would they spend all this
don't fud
time?
my bag,
No,
Steve. Don't
no,
fud my
no, no.
bags.
I'm saying, why would they
I'm
build all
actually
this?
happy that I was the one to say that to you this time, and not you
Yeah,
to me.
yeah. Usually you're the boo bird, but no, but I agree. I get what you're saying, but I'm also saying that the infrastructure is definitely in place, right? How for governance, the application layers, the treasury, and how it's all going to interact together. Now, I would agree with you that it's implied that they've built this for a fucking reason, right?
Yeah,
It
they
is,
didn't do this without having
yeah.
not no partners
They didn't
already
build this
associated.
with hopes and dreams. I would
and
think not.
and you
Yeah,
talked about it at the onset, like we talked about, like Rajesh, unofficially confirming, the Thunes kind of, partnership, right? So who else is unofficially involved,
yeah.
right? Like Gcash, we know is, somewhat involved. We know Airtel,
Airtel. Yeah.
we know like all of these other, partners that are not only
But
on,
when do
the
they
website.
plug in? But when do they plug in is my question.
Well,
You know what I mean?
exactly. When do
Yeah.
they start, doing tests and whatnot, and
That's when.
getting their
That's when.
customers involved? And like, to me, it's not a matter of when, like, or if. Sorry, it's
It's
not a matter
when.
of if. It's a matter of when.
Correct. Yeah.
And you gotta look at all these, up and coming people too that are gonna want to create apps on our network now, because why wouldn't you when you're
Well,
tapped in,
they're incentivized to do it.
Yeah.
when you're tapped into every mobile phone user in the world, like
Right.
this is where you want to be.
Yeah.
So anybody
Well,
who's developing a decent DApp, this is a huge opportunity. If you've got a great use case, if you've got a real idea or something like that, like you tap in to Telcoin network and you can just do it.
but keep in
And
mind, Liberty, like there are requirements in order to be approved by that. Like Steve and I kind of went through it a little bit today too, but
sure, which is
like,
great, because if you're serious about your project and you meet those thresholds and whatnot, just getting on the Telcoin network, you're everybody is going to know that you're the real deal. You're serious about this. You've taken the correct steps to
it's
provide
it's professional. Yeah.
assurance to the vast community on board, that this project is probably going to be legit.
Yeah. Well, and some of the requirements are that you need to be a GSMA member,
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
right? Not only that, like the process to actually get approved as like even a validator, it's got to go through the compliance council, and then it's got to go to like the platform
Well,
council. Like
that's
you need to be approved in multiple levels to even get a part of being a validator.
and
Like
that's part of
you
the
don't like
brilliance,
just
right?
say
With the
that,
G.
like, oh, I want to be a validator, and next thing you know, I'm plugging and playing.
Yeah.
It's no, you need to jump through these hoops in order to meet our criteria to be worthy of jumping into our network.
That's the
And
brilliance
that
of the
is
GSMA partnership, right? Is they get an immediate sniff test by only accepting people that are part of that network that's went through GSMA's rigorous. Hey, you got to sign up, you got to prove yourself, yada yada. So now you're part of this network. Now you have access to plug into the Telcoin network.
Well, and you got to look at this the point where if they see a product that's going to excel on this network, they're and they can buy that product out or something like that. They're going to do that.
Yeah.
That's always an option as well.
Yeah, again, I mean, again, we're 3 hours deep, right? And we're like, okay, we talked about governance and the application layer, but we didn't talk about how the application layer really works. I mean, not do we need to? Maybe not, right? We all know it's there and what its tasks are and how it interoperates with the rest of the network. So I think we covered a good bit of it, but maybe we save that for a deeper dive specifically on, you know, the Telcoin network layers and operations and securities and everything else that they've actually laid out step by step in this format. So I don't know. I mean, I can talk about it all night. I don't give a shit. Um, it's
Man,
it,
I'm I still got half a bottle of whiskey. Like I'm good for another like 4 hours if you want to go.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know how many people want to listen to my dumbass
Yeah.
talking, but we still have 43 people here, man. Like after
3
essentially
hours,
3 hours.
man.
Like,
Yeah.
not gonna lie, I'm gonna commend everybody that's still here, whether or
Yeah.
not you joined halfway through, 3/4 of the way through, or came through the start. The fact that you're still here after
Yeah, I
Steve
would.
and I talking 3 hours of bullshit,
Well,
it's much
Andrew for two and a
appreciated
half,
to
Steve
say
for
the
a
least.
half, but
Fuck
no.
you.
So I would also like to stop and make a timeout and say, hey, guys, if there's anything that you guys want to, talk about, your take on what we've talked about, what you've seen on the platform, what
That's
you're.
exactly why I was hoping Foxy came up, because I knew that there was going to be a good take, but I know timing wise it's not ideal.
Yeah.
For everybody, especially across the pond. Like it's
Telcoin,
11.
yeah,
PM
Telcoinomics
now.
just said we got 5 hours left at least, so you better crack another bottle of whiskey open, pal.
Oh fuck! I might have to get the wife to go to the LCBO and get another one then, if that's the case. But listen, I'm fucking. You want to set the record? Let's call.
Well, I think we
Vegas
already
3 hours.
did. I think we already hit that record, right? I don't think we've ever done a 3 hour space, have we?
But what's funny? Actually, at the start, we never talked about over under,
We
which
did
we usually do.
Yeah. No, I think we said it was going to be probably close to 3 hours, but here we are.
Yeah, I joked
So.
that our TED talk would be like 5 hours, but whatever.
TED Talk.
I'm happy to stay on as
Yeah, me
people
too.
want
But
to
I also want people that want to be engaged and give us opinions on the new platform
Yeah, you
release.
know what? In terms of opinions, DB's been a speaker like the entire time. I don't think I've heard one word from him. DB, get up here, buddy. Let's hear from you.
Yeah, how you doing,
Tell
man?
us what you think. What's your feelings? What's your sentiment?
All right, right on. No.
All right, good talk.
Nope, I'm here. We've been talking so long, my headphones died on me.
Oh, right on. Yeah.
You blame Steve on that.
Yeah.
Oh, your fault. I was still blaming you for whipping me so bad in fantasy football.
Goddamn right I did.
Oh, 15 minutes in, and it finally came back 3 hours later.
Yep.
Yeah, but yeah, appreciate you guys giving me a shout out. Yeah, we've been pushing this out there for quite some time now, right? A few weeks.
Yeah, man, you've been hustling on the social media front. I know you've been getting great engagement too. I think did you go over 1 million impressions over the last couple weeks?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Couple
That's a
million actually.
couple million, Jesus, yeah. And DB's been fortunate enough to land one of those whale traders that are using the in-app trading mechanisms, and so he hit the lottery, and somebody signed up with his referral code that he's constantly putting out. So I'm telling you, it's real. Like, take DB's example, and if you want to get the word out and put that your own referral out, there are people. I don't think it's the amount of people you get; it's who you get. So,
Yeah, your quality referrals, right?
yep, yeah,
But
because
I mean, everybody should be doing it. I mean, you should just sign up or download the app, sign up for it. You get your referral code, and share it with your family and friends. And
yep, yeah, like
expand the network,
you've
man.
got before we had what?
Word of mouth.
We only had 28 asses before. Now we got over 100. So it's
110. Yeah, I mean and there's some good ones in there.
the exchange. Right?
I think it was D40. It was you, I think, on Twitter. You're like, oh well, most of the stuff that's on Polygon is garbage. But I'm telling you, man, I when they brought in the next group of assets, so I think they started with what was it 14, and then they brought in 82 more, so it's up to 110. There's some bangers in there, man. You start doing your deep dives on some of these projects.
I just don't have the time, and I don't need another Telcoin. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Telcoin's the main bag, and then you got to diversify a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm plenty diversified. I mean, Algorand being an ecosystem I work for, well, not work for, but we were building on. I've got my hands full, so
Yeah, that's fair.
I diversify with Telcoin, Telex, Tel staking. That's how I diversify.
Yeah.
Well diversified.
I'm just gonna keep funneling money into my winners and try not to look for any more losers. Frankly.
Yeah, that's good strategy.
If we can all do that.
Yeah, good strategy, pal. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not going to boomerang this bear to bull for a third time. All right, I'm gonna do it different this time.
Are you cashing out?
No, I mean I might actually take profit. Although this,
Oh.
yeah, I don't know. I'm a lot further ahead in life than I was when I first found Telcoins. So
right on, yeah.
Good to hear. Good to hear.
Yeah, good to hear.
That's
for
what
sure.
we hope for all of the Telfam. One day we all can be financially independent, and whenever that first Tel conference happens, let's all get together and cheers together.
So, do we have any
Do we
of
know
the
this?
European?
Do we know if Liberty Lad
Oh, go ahead.
got
Doobie.
that domain issue fixed with the website?
No, not yet. Not yet.
No,
So
I have not
alright.
gotten it fixed yet. I'm back and forth with the customer service trying to figure out what's going on. I'm probably going to reach out to Ari because I feel like he would have a good idea.
Yeah, he's been pretty quiet lately. So
Whoever's left in here, once that thing gets back up, we're gonna start slinging those
Well, that's why I tore it down.
giveaways and stuff
It was
like that.
completely dead in the last during the whole bear market. So I mean, I mean it's up now. You can at least see the website, but you can't check out or anything. So once I get this domain thing figured out, then I would imagine it gets a little bit better, as the bull market and price goes up. People get bullish and want to rock their coin.
Yeah, we'll start getting those giveaways going again, man. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I agree.
So do we have any?
Guys, and I'll get off here.
Do we have any more or any European Telfam still in the chat? You want to come up and speak and figure out what's going on with the European laws or what you've heard, or is there any good news coming out of Europe? I know some of the FCA stuff has been kind of detailed out or whatnot, or they're working on it anyway. So
yeah, I thought they came out with something with like the UK recently, didn't they?
yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah, the FCA in the UK. So I don't know if there's anybody here that is more knowledgeable than us, but I'd love to hear.
More knowledgeable than a couple guys in their basements.
Yeah. Well, you got one in Canada, and then he's even
like you say that like it's a bad thing. Fuck you.
Hey, listen, I grew up in Detroit, so I know all too well what Canada is. So
I know. We not gonna lie, we almost we talked about like meeting up in a couple weeks in Orlando, but like we were actually pretty close to meeting up in Ann Arbor because I had one of my customers there, and you were there meeting some family. I think
that's correct. Yeah. So we definitely crossed paths. No, I think I told you. I mean, we used to go to Canada all the time when we were kids because you could drink when you were 19. So you could cross the border, and
18 in some provinces.
Oh, is it really? Yeah. So in Windsor there where we would cross in Detroit, we could drink when we were 19. So we'd go over there and chase Canadian girls and drink Canadian beer.
How did that go for you?
Went well. Yeah. So went well. That's back when the border crossings weren't so stringent. They're like, "What are you going over there for?" "We're going to chase girls." We're like, "Have fun." So they would encourage us and laugh at us when we came back drunk. So different times now, but
oh yeah.
So
you want to talk about price action at all?
Yeah, I mean we can look at it. It's dropped a little bit tonight while we've been speaking, but it looks like maybe BTC and ETH is shotting up a little bit. Let me see. I'm just stuck on
35.7.
Oh yeah, so
You
it's
see?
yeah, it's shot up.
Yeah, it high of just under 36 for Bitcoin, but
Crypto Lou
um,
did a really good analysis earlier on Twitter. I really enjoyed it, but he was pretty spot on. I think we hit resistance, and
At that 19, 0019, yeah.
yeah, check out that he had a nice little thread on it.
Oh, good. Okay, yeah, I'll definitely check that out. Yeah, so price action's been hot lately, right? I mean, obviously we've all seen the uptick in demand. I think the trading volume as well as the we've seen the market cap grow. The demand for buy has been pretty strong, and it's been continuous for the last few days, right? So um, I'm encouraged by it. I mean, obviously we're still gonna play our dips the appropriate way, but what's your take on it?
well, I know we got back into the top 200 at one point on CoinGecko. I'm looking at it now. We're ranked at 230,
230,
which
yeah,
is okay. Like you said, we kind of dipped a little bit,
yeah,
but like you look at from like the lows. If you could have got in at the lows at like let's call it 000088, like
yeah,
you're up 100. You're already doubled based on what we're at now, right? And this is just again to my point, not financial advice, but the beginning of where things are going to continue to go with the release of like the Telcoin network.
yeah. I think there is a clear reversal, right? Now, however many times it gets back tested, I think the reversal is complete. Unless, I mean, it's crypto, right? Anything can happen. So we can lose support at any given time. But I feel like with the fundamental analysis, the fundamentals release, and then as well as the technical analysis, I think we're in a very, very good spot. I think the chart shows strong, um, and I think the product shows stronger. So I think the next 4 months is going to be a really good time for us.
I would agree. For me, I'm looking at it right now, like on even like a daily perspective. Like we're at kind of resistance level now at the kind of 1.9, kind of 2 level. But after that, like there's a little bit of resistance from previous activity, but like I think we can probably touch like that 003 mark and then kind of top there. That
Hmm.
was the kind of height of the last little bit. Like that's
Yep.
the highest point we would have been, outside of, let's call it, fucking 2022, mid-year 2022.
That was April, wasn't it?
Well, we hit it in like December of 2022, let's call it. But before that, after that level, it's not until mid early 2022. So
Yeah,
for me, in terms of price action, like I think we're going to the 003, and then we have a little bit of a consolidation, maybe downwards to retest kind of this level that we're at right now before we continue upwards. But
yeah, and
that
one of
that's
Telfam members, Q, he's been dropping some great charts out on X. So make sure if you're not a technical trader and you're looking for good charts, make sure you look him up.
for sure. Yeah. All right. Well, is there anything left on our list there, Steve, or
I
on
mean, there's a shit ton left, but I just don't know if it's appropriate to dive into the other
what
piece of this.
what
I
what
mean,
what's on the list?
the the application network. I mean, the whole network. I mean, we talked about it holistically, right, of a 30,000 foot level, but I think we went into pretty good detail on the governance side and the legal side, that we've done that pretty well. I just think that there's a lot left on the table when it comes to um, the actual network and the operation of it. Now, again, that might not be for us and our audience, so maybe we just do a separate one. And if you guys want to join, feel free, because it's more on the technical side and more probably geared towards the GSMA and the application development folks. So I think what we covered is really well suited for us retail guys and LP providers and in-app stakers for referral staking. So
Yeah, I'm perfectly fine with that. I
good.
think the fact if we can try to get some actual members of the team on to go through a little bit more of the specifics and dive into the weeds.
That'd be huge. Yeah.
I'm perfectly fine with doing multiple different spaces over the next couple of weeks about that.
All right,
So
because
I'm
as I said in the beginning, it's all speculation from opinions of ours, right? Until
yeah.
until proven.
Well, Steve, I know you're tired. You're getting a little old, so like
Yeah.
you
Thanks,
gotta go to
pal.
bed, right?
Yeah, no, yeah, thanks. I appreciate that, but no, I'm good, man. I just don't want to open up a can of worms that we can't get through. So maybe we call it for the night. We're at 3 hours, 15 minutes, which is amazing. It's amazing you guys held on with us, and whoever listens to this afterwards, sorry for the length. Put it on 2x and get through it quicker. I don't know what to tell you, but it's been a banger, man. It's we I think we've gotten through a lot of good information. Hopefully, we were able to get some of that information from our perspective to you, if you haven't had time to really dive in. And again, I would encourage you guys to take a look and also reach out to Andrew or myself. And there's many other Telfam, DB. I know he's always willing to help. Liberty, Telcoinomics, Foxy, all these guys are OGs. Cody, and always willing to answer questions. I know. So, um, but yeah, that's
Reach
my
out, man. Yeah, don't be scared to reach out. We're happy to help in any way we can.
yeah, good, bad,
Whatever
or
the question
indifferent.
is, there's no stupid question. Reach out, and we're happy to help. So
Yeah, I mean, I love the fact that when Luke came up and he was talking about tokenomics, and he said, "Hey, listen, it looks a little different than what is expected, right?" And that's fair. I mean, there's some cases, and maybe there needs some explanations, and maybe somebody can chime in that has more information available. But
well, Steve, put it this way: the only way to strengthen the network is to challenge it.
that's great. You're absolutely right. So. Yeah, and again, yeah, good, bad, or indifferent. Feel free to reach out. It sounds like, Andrew, that a separate Telex liquidity provider space might be warranted. There's a lot of discussion and talks, I think, more so now that this data is out and people understand how they can interact with the platform. So I think it might be good timing to maybe schedule that and set that up.
Yeah, if anybody has questions about specifically about telex and liquidity mining, again, the DMs are always open. I'm happy to help out with people. If we need to do a specific spaces around that, I'm open to it. Whatever
Uh,
everybody needs, man. I'm a man of the people. Whatever
It
you need.
it sounds like that needs to have a space of impermanent loss. Just that topic and how to
Well,
prevent
it
it.
yeah. Not well, but again though, like not to dive into it too much. It's very specific based off of the individual and what their preferences are, their risk tolerance and all that kind of stuff. Like that's why I always say with like if people that have questions about like strategy and stuff like that with like telex, like DM me because like it matters how you interpret it and like what your goals are and all that kind of stuff because Steve, your interpretation, your risk tolerance might be different from Liberty,
Absolutely.
which might be different from D40, which might be different from DB, which is going to be different from John at Tell Me Something Great. So it's more about understanding what the goal is at the end of the day and your risk tolerance, and understanding the strategy around that. Like, so it's more about the individual basis. There's no collective, from my opinion, that you can like set on like how I want to interact with Telex. But that's just me, and obviously I'm pretty deep into the weeds of that aspect of the Telcoin network. But I would encourage anybody that if you have questions, comments, concerns about that, DM me. I'm happy to help out and educate you, and try to push you towards a strategy that is going to be most beneficial to you in the long run. So.
And soon, I think the more or the sooner you participate in the platform, the better your returns will be before all hell breaks loose, I guess. So there's going to be
Yeah, like if I'm being honest, if Tel is going to be like the token, the price is going to be appreciating. It's not necessarily the best time to be investing in Telx, because you're going to have to deal with that permanent loss. But again, if you have interest in it, if you have questions in it, reach out. I'm happy to help.
yeah.
This is my bread and butter. This is what I live for. I love analytics. I love doing this kind of stuff. And reach out. I'm happy to help.
Right on. So last minute questions, comments, concerns, ideas for discussion points next time. Feel free to raise your hand now or forever hold your peace, because we're going to wrap this one up. Yeah, hopefully everybody that hung around or is going to listen to this afterwards, like I said, I hope you get what you want out of this, and feel free to reach out to us anytime, and we look forward to the next one. So
Let's go, baby.
yeah, let's go. Let's hope for 003 next week. Let's put that on the map as a goal. So get to buying. People start buying, all right?
NFA,
Yeah,
Steve,
yeah. No,
calm down, calm down.
okay. All right. Yeah, not financial advice. Yeah. So
Remember, we're just idiots in our basement talking bullshit.
we're doing our best, man.
Thank you guys. Appreciate it.
Yeah, you got it. Yeah. Until next time, we'll get a schedule out. Next time we can talk a little more about this. So everybody have a good night. Appreciate you hanging out. Yeah, I'm sure you'll see us posting on X, and if you have any questions, reach out.
Pete in the pocket, send me a DM.
Get that sweater. Get that sweater.
That sweater's badass. I wouldn't pass that one up. So
No, I'm not gonna lie. Like, I wouldn't at all either.
yeah.
And I'm still asking for those fucking underwear for Christmas. I don't care.
Right on. All right.
I need those socks that everybody's wearing.
Oh, those are comfortable fucking socks. I'll tell you that.
You gotta get those.
Yeah.
You gotta get those. Those are bomb.com right there.
All right, with Andrew saying bomb.com, we're going to end it. So we ruined it.
On that, really?
Yeah.
That's how you're gonna do it?
Yeah.
All right.
Later, guys.
Later. Bye-bye.